I did it, folks. It happened, but I paid a terrible price. My folks came over, family visited, had a great time with them. Walked the walk, talked the talk, went to parks, went to museums, had a great time. Not very good at hosting. Myself, I'm not great at it. It's a skill set. I don't have it. Um, it's I don't have the Mediterranean blood. There's people in the warmer climates. Everyone's like, you show up at my house uninvited. I give you my car. And the further north you go, the more people will bill you on Venmo for the cost of the mint that you gave them when they entered your house. It's in my blood. Polish, German, and Irish. None of it's not warm weather climate. And in any case, I did pay a price because I hosted well, so I had to suffer for it. And I'm sick. My throat hurts quite a bit. I think it was just a stress thing. There's a lot going on right now. And I'm juggling a lot. I'm busier than you might expect. Normally, when I say you wouldn't believe how busy a fella such as myself can get, you're thinking, well, he's joking. And yes, that's usually the case. This time, though, it's actually been a pretty busy couple of weeks. So
It is.
I think, whoa! Pardon me, YouTube. Full screening a video doesn't mean I want it to play, jackass. Um, was it the first time meeting of them meeting my beautiful partner? No, no, it was not. And that part wasn't stressful at all. My partner and my family get along very well. How are we doing? Have you seen the mural debate? No, there's a lot of. I've been very busy. I've been very busy. Just we're gonna have to take it in pace. Normally, what I would like to do is just gun right through it. 6 hours of content at minimum. I mean, we've missed quite a bit. But unfortunately, I am sick and my throat is sore. And if I overdo it, it means I won't be able to stream tomorrow, which is unacceptable. So I think that were you happy to see your parents? Retard or had a bad childhood, call it. What are you talking about? It's my beloved family. What do you mean? Sorry, yeah, no, I understand that it's hip for the kids these days to have, a broken home and the divorced parents and the one of them is me, the mother is a narcissist and the father is abusive and no, I'm very sorry, but I love my parents very much. And my brother, you know. Any Halloween plans? Yeah, but I'm not letting you know or you'll ruin them. You're a dick. No, I'm not. It's aspirational to have good parents. We sometimes you ever feel like people get so in the misery pit, especially when it comes to the parental behavior, that they start to idealize it. It's like the mental illness thing. You want the good parents. Sometimes people forget that. I mean, you're showing off a bit having likable parents. The bar is really low. It's all crabs in a bucket, huh? Have you considered how you having a good relationship with your parents makes me the center of the universe feel? What museum did you go to? I guess it's not technically a museum. The Chihuly Glass Gardens over at the Seattle Center. Um, Dana trying to change the subject. Fuck, fuck. Don't talk about parents or else chat's gonna trauma dump. Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, my parents were chill. Um, I never even had a coming out conversation with them. I was on a road trip with my mom because um we were visiting some college campuses prior to me going over there, and I was talking about it. She was like, "Oh, how have you been?" I was talking about a guy that I was dating, and then I realized I never actually had a conversation with my parents about not being straight, but I never did, and I still haven't. Like, so I guess implicitly the conversation was had, but it wasn't, you know. The real important bit is what fits did you rock? Okay. All right. Can we do this right now and get it out of the way so that we can do the politics? Because we are very behind on the politics, okay? Because I did, in fact, get... Oh my God, thank you. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna reward you for that. I did, in fact, get the leather jacket. Hold on. I have no idea if it'll even look good on camera. Still ain't it a beaut? Look at that. A leather trucker jacket. Who ever heard of such a thing? Anyway, I was walking around Cap Hill, and you know, I was making eye contact with the other leather queers. You know, looks good with those shorts. I know it's a perfect fit. Only the one, Ward Pipe. Only the one. Nice bomber jacket. Nice try. It's a trucker jacket. It is not a duster after all. No, I'm not getting a leather duster. Would you willing to link where you got the gem? Imogene and Willie. All right, hold on. Hold your horses. The satin interior is very nice. Yeah, it's dyed with indigo, which is something that I was reminded of after wearing it with a white t-shirt first day and getting like a body print of my of the jacket like on the shirt. You can remove indigo dye stains pretty easily, but you know. Plans for leather chaps. Keep it in your pants. All right. Okay. Why do they usually make the interior from polyester? Because polyester is a good liner. At least it's one of the good liners because it's a filament, so it makes for a good satin fabric. Also, it's durable, you know. The point of a liner is just to make it so you can easily slip the sleeves on, basically. You know, you can make it out of silk, you can make it out of, you know, rayon. That's common. Polyester is pretty durable. That's cotton. Sateen. It's sateen if it's cotton. It's satin if it's polyester. All right. Oh. Next stop, the Unicorn. I wish they're closed. I tried to take my folks to it. The place next to it caught fire. They're not going to reopen till next year, probably. Yeah. Only found out the other day. Okay. Okay. So let's just get right into it. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. And I don't know, the most obvious and strange. I'm sorry about the audio. I just can't stop with the auto playing. Yeah, the entire East Wing of the White House is gone. Oh my God, John Suchi. The entire East Wing of the White House is gone. Initially, they said that the ballroom renovation would not destroy anything. It would only add to the existing facility. Then they said they were only removing a sort of parking alcove on the side so that they could more seamlessly blend in the new construction. But no, obviously, given the administration, it's they just destroyed the entire East Wing. It's all gone. They destroyed the whole thing. They really hate this country, man. Yeah, fuckers took the East Wing, can't have shit in DC. Can't full screen that? That's fine. Whatever, man. American Century of Humiliation. Yep. They said it would take a projected 6 years to fully rebuild it. Oh, God, yeah. Construction, especially elaborate construction, takes time. The White House is going to be an ugly construction site for years and years to come. The whole thing is just going to be swamped with construction crew, the machinery. Yeah. Sit. Just tore it down. The American Century of Humiliation, man. Like they're really defiling the Capitol building, and well, not the Capitol building, a building in the Capitol, the White House, the executive building, so on and so forth. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Osama bin Laden could never. Can you imagine if like a plane crashed into the East Wing, did this amount of damage? It would be, it would be another. I mean, it would literally be another 9/11, right? It would be a massive deal. No real difference here. I mean, they didn't even like clear it. The East Wing, they didn't even like properly preserve or protect everything in there. They just fucking did it. From the guys who these are the, as I so wisely noted on Twitter, these are the people who act like you're destroying history when you take down a bunch of identical Robert E. Lee Confederate statues that were put up in the 1950s. Entire East Wing of the White House. And by the way, nobody cares. Not a single Republican cares. You can go look on social media. They're all gleefully lying about it. They're like, renovations have happened before. No one's ever torn down a wing. Also, they explicitly lied about what they were going to be doing. Just no communication whatsoever. I mean, well, misinformation, disinformation, deliberately so. Um, and they're out there, they're saying the East Wing is a newer addition. They're saying the East Wing is Jewish. They're saying the East Wing is for women or cucked or whatever else. He tore down the mural that said the White House was owned by the people, not the president. Yeah, you know. Whew. President Xi, it wouldn't matter if you fired the missiles at this point. What difference would it make? And it's also being paid for in bribes. Yes, the whole thing is being paid for privately in what is effectively dark money, because a lot of the amounts are not being like publicly disclosed. It's being paid for privately, and it's being paid for by corporations that are favorable to Trump. So they're basically trying to curry favor with Trump um, by contributing to this big dark money pit. The ballroom donors were feted at a White House dinner last week. Adelson Family Foundation, Altria Group, Amazon. Yeah. I'm sure you can. Yeah, you know the type of people. It's like the inauguration fund. It's just a way of dumping money into the presidency. Um, I seriously don't get the political goal with this ballroom. I literally just think they're Satan. I just think they're demons. I think they I think that it is a synthesis of the fascists in the administration wanting to show their absolute power over the country by just tearing down the White House and nobody can stop them, with Trump being like a prissy little drama queen who wants to build a big dictator palace. I don't think there's like I don't think there's much else to it. He would tear down the whole building if he could. Maybe he will.
Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going
patio,
into the back. Sorry. Go ahead.
in addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly, and so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority. Kristen.
The government is never reopening, man.
4 p.m. here in Washington. Do you know where your White House is?
We are proud to announce that the construction of the new White House ballroom will begin.
It'll be built over on the east side, and it will be beautiful.
The White House ballroom will be substantially separated from the main building of the White House.
It won't interfere with the current...
What the absolute fuck is your country? I think this is the consequence, to an extent, of both radical, like fascist anti-art sentiment, but also the fact that America doesn't have much in the way of like a proud artistic, architectural, cultural history anyway, at least one that's respected by conservatives. America's big contributions to public culture have largely been like since 1900s black and brown people music, you know, Hollywood, but they don't like the music because it's black, and they don't like Hollywood because it's Jewish. They're not fans of any of these things, you know? Like, if you think of typical, stately, classically American architecture, you have to think of, like, brick townhouses in Boston, you know? You think of neighborhoods that are nowadays illegal to build. But for some reason, the White House is, like, neoclassical, which is, like, fucking everywhere, and it's ugly everywhere, you know? I think a big problem here is that, like, conservatives don't believe in any kind of artistic direction for the country because there is no artistic direction in this halls of power, you know? There's nothing to worship. There's nothing to feel good about. There's nothing to care about.
Building, it won't be. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. Sir, this is
the existing building is gone.
White House. You're the president of the United States. You can do anything you want. And we did something that was really appropriate to the White House. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. It's a very special building, and we are taking care of it. But if I get money from our country, I'll do something nice with it, like give it to charity or give it to the White House while we restore the White House. And we're doing a great job in the White House. As you know, the ballroom is under construction. We determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section, you know, the East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original. It was never thought of as being much. It was a very small building. In order to do it properly, we had to take down the existing structure.
With any construction project, changes come.
Changes come. Here they are. Live pictures of the White House, your White House.
It's a video, actually.
The entire East Wing, now gone, reduced to rubble, to make way for President Trump's new ballroom. And now we're getting our first look from space. These new satellite images just in to CNN. The picture on the left showing the White House in October of last year. The picture on the right is from today. You can see on the right the demolition of...
Thank you for the pictures, Palantir.
...the East Wing. And this image sent to CNN from a passenger on a flight leaving the nation's capital today.
It's like an open wound, you know? It's such an obvious metaphor for the state of the country. It's going to look like this for years and years. There's no way to build a building this large quickly, you know? You want to build a big ballroom. You can't do that in 6 months. I mean, it's so on the nose.
Again, very clear to see. Today, the administration vigorously defending the project and its price tag. Because as the East Wing is coming down, we are learning that the price...
It really is crazy, by the way, that the thing the Democrats are hinging on to attack Trump over this is like the price of the ballroom construction, rather than the more obvious line, which you'd think they'd really, really want to go for, which is he hates this country, which he does. You'd think that like it'd be a pretty easy one, you know? It's the national century of humiliation. It's ridiculous. He's proving he can do literally anything that he wants. There's absolutely no holds in his power. No one's stopping him from doing anything.
is going up from 250 million, then 200 million. The president now saying it's going to be more like 300 million. That is, of course, more than 650 times the average cost of a house in the United States. The press secretary,
Like, this is dickless. No one gives a shit. If they did renovations for the White House and it cost $10 billion, I wouldn't fucking care. It's the White House. Yeah, I mean, obviously, in this case, it's being funded for by private donors. So the Republicans have a counter to this anyway. They're like, well, it's not taxpayer dollars. He hates this country. They all hate this country.
Secretary today, again, pledging that taxpayers will not be on the hook for the bill.
We have released the full list of donors thus far.
Great audio.
Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources. And when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
It is true. The White House has released a list of the donors, or friends, as the president says, who are putting up money for this project. Some of the biggest names in crypto, in tobacco, the Winklevoss twins, companies like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, among others. But the White House hasn't released how
Isn't it
much.
so cool how Democrats can't even really attack this for what it is because they're just as in bed with the oligarchy? Remember Hakeem Jeffries going over to Silicon Valley after the inauguration fund contributions to try to, like, meekly, pathetically beg Silicon Valley to back Democrats again?
Much these people and corporations are giving, and how much the president is going to put up.
Just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come.
Trust the process. Let's get off the sidelines and head into the arena. My panel will be here, but we're going to get started with CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes. Kristen, what are we learning about the demolition? Who's paying for the new ballroom? And I mean, look, it really seemed to me that they felt like they needed to defend themselves today.
Yeah, they certainly did. They certainly did. And I think they're aware of...
Well, they're just doing anything Trump asked, but it, like, obviously looks really fucking bad to have a third of the White House destroyed, and it's gonna stay that way for years. Like, of course they're defending it, but this is just gonna, it's just gonna get bowled over. I don't know, man. Jesus Christ. For such an ugly fucking monstrosity, too. Is this the architectural? Is this the company? This is the design they're going with. Just ugly. It's a fucking eyesore, you know? So tacky. Well, it's perfect for Trump. He really does fucking despise this country, man. All Dubai, Labubu Dubai, chocolate bullshit the whole way through. Go here and scroll through the major events timeline. Oh, yes, of course. So because the Republicans fucking despise America, they have updated the White House website timeline, the major events timeline on the progress and development of the White House. So here you have, you know, rebuilding after the War of 1812, South and North Portico, you know, addition of the West Wing. We've all, you know, heard of this wonderful TV show. That's great. That's great. The Oval Office and so on. You know, it's a building. It gets renovated. And as you go along, here we go. Monica Lewinsky scandal, Muslim Brotherhood visit for Obama, cocaine discovered. See, there's Hunter Biden right there in the bathtub on the White House website. Trans Day of Visibility. There's some titties right there. That's great, you know. And then here's Trump, and he put a big flagpole up. The unambiguous message here from the White House is that it's okay to destroy the White House because it, along with this entire country, was never good anyway. It's like how Trump hates America just based on his rhetoric, like far more than anyone, even the most like cartoonish Twitter lefty. All Trump talks about is how this country is dying and falling apart, you know? The logical extension of this position, the logical conclusion, really, is that you can do anything you want to destroy it and its sacred symbols, because none of it means anything anyway, because all of it is disgusting and degenerate. In a way, it's actually more, it's almost more fascist than the Nazis, at least with regard to like this, how the dynamic and the dialectic plays out between kitsch and modernism and the relationship with your own national past. The Nazis took plenty of umbrage with, you know, the history of Germany. They wanted to make a fantasy version of Germany, essentially, right? You know, with you've got your Hyperborea and your Aryan history and the we was Nordics and so on. I mean, they you know, touched on the mystical quite a bit. But there is that interplay, right? You still have to love Germania. You still have to love the concept. But Republicans truly fucking despise this country, man. They really do. Absolutely everything. They despise everything about it. What was that? What were the leaked messages from that one fellow recently, that other racist Republican, where he was saying, he said explicitly, the founding fathers were wrong. Men are not created equal. Classic. Yeah, very brave. The vocal fry today is strong. I'm sick. My throat's sore. Isn't this good for acceleration? I shouldn't have taught you guys what accelerationism is. Let me send that over to my editors, and then we'll continue immediately. Have you talked about NSPM 7 yet? Multiple times. I talked about it as soon as Ken Klippenstein broke the story. New York City mayoral debate. Here's a suggestion. Shut the fuck up. You mean the one we watched live? No, there was another one. Okay. Graham Plattner. What the hell is going on? Okay. So, a week ago, Politico, run by known super Zionist, what's his face? I forget his name. Politico's an evil outlet. Very evil. Used their deep state Palantir technology to magically synthesize old deleted posts in which Graham Plattner said a number of things that were a mix of based, red-pilled, and cringe. You know, basically said rural whites are stupid and racist and so on. Okay. Anti-cop. Okay. Said some typical lefty shit. You know, okay, whatever. We disavow, blah, 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 blah. Now, the response to this largely served to benefit Plattner's campaign, because he posted a heartfelt video to social media where he talked about how he was like an angry young man, and he learned over time to channel his anger and frustration and feeling of political impotence into something positive. Then he revealed it himself on PodSave to get ahead of the narrative. Who's getting ahead of whose narrative right now? Shut the fuck up. We're getting there. Dem Reddit posts. Now, he spoke about this, and shortly thereafter, he went on Pod Save America, the podcast you guys might know for having been ultra-lib, but recently, kind of funnily enough, it seems like the host is having a bit of a break with the median Democrat line a little bit. There have been a couple of Joker moments on Pod Save America, you know. This still, I can't get over that fucking interview they did with the Kamala Harris staffers, who were just like not capable of understanding how their behavior brought us all to this moment. And Graham Plattner he went on here and he shared something interesting with the class. Let's just, it's the interesting bit's 20 minutes in. We're not going to watch all the way up to there, but let's open fair. Okay, what's up?
Oyster farmer and Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner. Graham, great to see you.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for doing the show, and thank you for bearing with
15
minutes of Amazon Web Service, Amazon-related tech problems at the jump here. It's been very fun. Thank you, Jeff Bezos. Okay. I want to cover a bunch of stuff with you, but first, I just wanted to ask you about this kind of flurry of news reports about Reddit posts you made between 2009 and 2021. There's an Axios headline this past week that described the week for you guys as Bernie back Maine Senate candidate melts down. So maybe by the end of the conversation, we can fact check that headline too, and you tell me if that's how you feel.
Interesting.
The Axios, they summon it all up for you, primary in June. So the first Reddit post I wanted to ask you about is from 2013.
The first one's really good, by the way.
So someone wrote on Reddit, what is one question you've always wanted to ask someone of another race? You responded, why don't black people tip? I work as a bartender, and it always amazes me how solid the stereotype is. Every now and again, a black patron will leave a 15 to 20% tip, but usually it is between...
And when we saw this among the Reddit posts, what did I do? I said, black people, answer for yourselves. Why not? And who responded? Nobody, because there are no black people here. Not actually true. By the way, I should have you know I've been stopped by black fans in the street before, which I assume legitimizes and pardons me for everything I've ever said and done. Thank you.
0 and 5%. There's got to be a reason behind it. What is it?
That must have been so scary. Shut the fuck up.
End of quote. How did you feel rereading that post? And what's your response to people who hear that and think that is like textbook racism and it's offensive?
I mean, one, I was legitimately asking the question. I mean, that was the point of the thread, was to ask the question. Amusingly enough, I remember this time when I had first started bartending, and then I had a conversation with a friend of mine who was black, who was a bartender, who did a great job of walking me through structural injustice and the fact of feelings of lack of agency. Mm-hmm. There were a whole bunch of reasons, and after that, I was like, oh yeah, that makes absolutely perfect sense. It was certainly not meant as a malicious thing.
Why is this MF even on Reddit? Isn't he like a middle-aged man? What do you know about Reddit?
Asking the question because that was kind of the point of the thread, actually.
So you're saying that this is not something that you were shitposting about. This was not something that you felt, it wasn't meant to be a commentary. It was a question you were sincerely asking on a Reddit thread because you thought there might be some sort of like cultural explanation or something. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I like there was I grew up in Maine. I had never bartended before. I was living in Washington, D.C. And I honestly, I reread a lot of the comments for obvious reasons. Many of them I'm like, oh God, that one I must say, I was legitimately curious.
The fucking voice, man.
And it was not, certainly not meant in any malicious way. And I got an answer soon afterwards in reality from an actual person, but.
Got it. Okay, so another one that's gotten a lot of attention is there were posts from 2013 where it seemed like you were playing down the challenges faced by members of the military who were trying to report sexual assault allegations. The first post was, in today's current climate...
What was the answer? Yeah, why won't they give us the answer? What the fuck? We're all hanging on a thread here, you know? A lot of people have been wondering this. I've always wanted to... If I was in that Reddit thread, I would have asked, why when I'm talking to an older Chinese person, do they always seem like they're impatient with me, no matter how quickly I'm speaking to them? That's what I want to. That's what I would want to know. It makes me feel self-conscious.
When every whisper of a misplaced hand brings down a feature-length film, anyone who actually thinks the military is purposely covering up rape to save a career of some goddamn captain is clearly both an idiot and junior enough in rank or life experience to think it matters. And then there was another post where you suggested that the way to avoid getting sexually assaulted was not to get blacked out drunk. Again, what do you say to someone who hears those comments and feels like it's minimizing a very serious problem, if not suggesting that the victims are the ones to blame for sexual assault?
Yeah, they would be correct in that. I didn't know what I was talking about. I had, at this point, I had just gotten out of the infantry. It's important.
Pretty nice direct answer there, you know?
Time in the service was in the infantry. At that point, it was an all-male branch. I had only recently separated, and my frame of reference was that world. And that was not a world in which, frankly, I had very little interaction with women in the service. Very soon after, actually, this time frame, when I started going to college, I became very close friends with a number of vets, female vets at George Washington, and all of them had a story. And I very quickly changed my tune. I think you'll find even not that much later in my Reddit history me acknowledging that. That was a moment in time in which I had not yet been exposed to things, and I had a opinion, or I had thoughts that were colored by my experience in the service. But
this is why I think he experienced basically no electoral consequences for all of these unearthed posts. He genuinely comes across as a very well, genuine guy. He comes across really sincere and heartfelt. I think a little bit is also, and I'm being serious with this, he has like actual puppy dog eyes. Like he has the outer lid downturn that you would draw on a cartoon dog to make the dog look like a little pitiable, you know? And I do think that helps. Like there are people who just have like kind of evil faces a little bit. And so this hasn't really bit him that much, but there's a reason why he's on here speaking with Pod Save America, you know, about this, even though he had already addressed it publicly and kind of seemed to have moved past it a little bit. And to that point, let's move just a little bit further along.
It actually legitimately infuriates me.
I can understand it. Obviously, like, people's votes and quotes and, you know, life experience is going to be part of a political campaign. But the Oppo research world gets pretty fucking disgusting at points. And I think you're kind of hinting at that.
By the way, the Oppo research that's come out on him, until proven otherwise, I'm just going to assume it was Schumer. Keep in mind, like, he's up again, like Mills, the Maine governor, is the Schumer-backed candidate. She's 1,000 years old. She'll be, you know, 1008 if she finishes her first Senate term. Like that's the age she'll be. And it does seem like the Oppo research that's been done on him has been like relatively high quality, if you know what I mean. Like effort has been put into digging into his past, you know? I mean, they're pulling up deleted posts, and as you're about to see, they found an old video.
Speaking of which, in kind of a non-traditional campaign move, your team actually shared some opposition research on you with me. It's a video from, I believe, a decade ago. Let's just watch an excerpt, and then we should talk about it.
Oh, yeah. All right, don't you get me copyright struck, please. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no.
First of all, what we were watching there was Graham wearing just his boxer briefs.
Silkies. Those are Marine Corps running shorts.
Pardon me. Silkies. First of all, great song choice. Tell us what's happening there, where you are. There's probably some listeners who are very confused. And the reason we are showing this video is because at the very end, you can see a tattoo on your chest.
Yeah.
I've been told that some of your political opponents are telling reporters that that tattoo has a Nazi affiliation. And I would like to know, is that accurate? Are you a secret?
It's a Totenkopf. It is a Nazi symbol. It's unambiguously a Nazi tattoo. There's no getting around that. It is in fact the one on the hat. Famously, the one on the hat. Somebody in chat earlier said that he shared this information with Pod Save America. Again, that's not true. Reporters somehow, or a reporter, procured this video and were providing information about it to news outlets, waiting for one of them to take the story to break. I think this is some deep state Palantir shit, okay? Like, the race is not for like, the election is not for over a year, and you have all these deleted Reddit posts, and now you have, like, investigative reporters quietly trying to like pressure outfits or outlets into publishing this information. I think this is 100% like the Democratic, like it's Schumer. I think it's Schumer. But at any rate, man has a Nazi tattoo, or had, as we'll get to.
Nazi.
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism,
right.
And anti-Semitism and racism in general. I would say a lifelong opponent. The video is from my brother's marriage to his wife, to my sister-in-law, who I was serenading. I told them that my wedding gift to them would be my embarrassment. And so I performed a lip sync version of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball to my sister-in-law on the day of her wedding to my brother. And now, of course, that embarrassment, which was mostly just held internally in the family, as we always watched that video at family events and laughed, is now shared with the world. So I feel like I'm just going to give them a wedding gift for the rest of my life. Which is great. I love them. The reason, by the way, the reason of this video, Saturday was their 10th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
And my sister-in-law was showing everybody the video.
Nice.
And I was like, oh yeah, there it is. There's me being embarrassed. But what we also, so in 2007, I was a machine gun section leader with Kilo Company, 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines. We were on the 2-2 Mu. And it was my 3rd deployment. My previous 2 had been to Fallujah and then Ramadi, 2006. And we went ashore in Split, Croatia, myself and a few of the other machine gun squad leaders. And we...
No, my love, that's okay, but thank you. Yeah, never get blackout drunk and get a tattoo in Croatia, okay?
We got very inebriated, and we did what Marines on Liberty do, and we decided to go get a tattoo. And we went to a tattoo parlor in Split, Croatia, and we chose a terrifying looking skull and crossbones off the wall because we were Marines, and, you know, skulls and crossbones are a pretty standard military thing. And we got those tattoos. And then we all moved on with our lives. And I actually joined the Army after that, where I got, you know, I had to go to MEPS. I got screened. Later on, I got a security clearance and a full screen when I went to work for the State Department as a...
Well, yeah, that having a Nazi tattoo probably wouldn't be disqualifying for those roles. So basically, he's saying the reason he has present tense a Nazi tattoo, and again, I want to be clear, it's the Totenkopf. It's not ambiguous. It's not like a dog whistle tattoo. It's not like a edge case thing. It's unambiguously a Nazi tattoo. The tattoo artist would have known, and so on. He's kept it his whole life up until 2 days ago. Now, the weird thing here is that he claims he didn't know what the tattoo represented. According to his previous campaign manager, who left after this, Plattner knew that it was a Totenkopf and had referred to it as such. Like, he was quoted as having said, or having referred to his tattoo as my lil Totenkopf. So he knew what the tattoo was, at least now. And I don't think you can have a tattoo like that on your body for, 15 years without at some point somebody telling you, look, I buy the original story, okay? Drunk Croatia, you get a skull and crossbones tattoo, it's a Totenkopf. I don't expect the average U.S. soldier to know what a Totenkopf is. I fully believe that. I fully believe that. However, the idea that in the following 15 years of his life, nobody informed him, like, I don't buy that. That seems unlikely to me. It's a recognizable symbol, at least to some people. That specific piece calling it my Totenkopf came from an anonymous source speaking to Jewish Insider. Ah, all right. Well, I've seen how they talk about the Gaza genocide. Okay, then you can take that one with a grain of salt. Regardless of the reliability of that quote, the idea that for 15 years he didn't know what the tattoo on his chest was, to me just defies belief. That's ludicrous, you know? That would be like getting a Hindu swastika because you read the original pre-Western edit of One Piece and were a huge fan of you know, the Whitebeards or whatever, and nobody told you, you know, for 15 years, nobody told you. It would be insane. Especially, like, in the service, you know? You're getting shirtless with people all the time, never comes up. Was it the SS Totenkopf or other ones? It's just the one Totenkopf. It's that simple. There's no, it is the Nazi symbol. It's not any other symbol. Now, funnily enough, only now did he decide to change his tattoo and get a cover-up. I guess at no point in the previous 15 years did it occur to him that that might be a good idea, especially before a fucking US Senate race. And the tattoo he chose to get to cover it up is a fucking, like, Celtic rune Nordic wolf type tattoo, which is the funniest fucking thing you could possibly cover a Totenkopf up with. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Wait, what? I don't get it. These are also symbols that are popular with neo-Nazis. They're not like Nazi symbols. It's just like he's taken like 3 steps down the staircase. You know what I mean? Might have been better if he had just had like a black square tattoo. You know what I mean? Like just fully just black the whole thing out. Oh my God. But see, Vosh, if he was a secret Nazi and he knew it was a Nazi tattoo, why would he wait till now to get it removed? No, you gotta understand. I don't think he's a secret Nazi. I think he's fucking retarded. I have no other explanation for how we get to this point. I don't think he's a Nazi. I genuinely don't. I think this is like genuine homegrown American idiocy, and I think it's borderline disqualifying. For a senator, you know? Like, it's one thing for a person to have shifted in their political positions rapidly over time. It's one thing for a person to be, you know, up and down, yeah, okay. Whomst amongst us, right? Especially nowadays, now that everyone's ideology is, you know, you're playing Pong back and forth across the field, whatever. But the level of, like, poor reasoning or decision-making or lack of decision-making or whatever else to keep a Nazi symbol on you for 15 years and then hastily cover it up only after, like, I don't get it. If you knew that people were running around with that video, like leaking it or trying to push it onto onto newspapers to get them to publish it to run against you, why not get the tattoo covered up immediately and then talk about it, you know? And say, like, I just learned right then what a Totenkopf was. I don't understand it. It's insane. It's insane to me. I do not get it. That cover-up isn't new. That's at least 1 year old. Is it? My understanding was they got the cover-up very recently. Like, very, very recently. Did he not get it covered up? Like just... It's not red or swollen? You can literally see the plastic on it. Right here. You can see the thing they put on to allow the skin to heal. It's got the goop. Oh, yeah, you can see the hair shaved. Yeah, that's new. That's just insane. Yeah, you can still see the bones of the skull and crossbone picking up, you know? Look, again, I don't think that he's a secret Nazi. This is, to me, again, a borderline disqualifying level of mental constipation. This is I cannot relate to the mental process of a person who would like the original tattoo, regrettable but understandable. But at some point in the following 15 years, at no point were you like, "Oh my God, I have a fucking gigantic Totenkopf on my chest. I am going to go to a tattoo parlor and fix that." It was a really shitty tattoo. It looked like a black blob more than a skull. Sorry, I know this is largely a product of me being familiar with the symbol, but it's immediately recognizable. The Totenkopf, I mean. Even as a silhouette, it's very recognizable. It's recognizable enough, remember, you might recall the Bored Ape Yacht Club got in some heat a while ago because one of the symbols associated with the group was clearly modeled off of a Totenkopf, you know? It's a recognizable enough symbol that even iterations of it look distinct from other types of skulls and crossbones. Most people don't recognize it. Sure, he should have at some point in 15 years. Like, well, I'm sure, okay. I bet you the average person doesn't know what a Sonnengrad is either. Like, how far do we run that line? You know? Totenkopf. Look, the PF, the Kopf, is hard for me to do right now because my throat's sore, okay? I'm trying my best. I know there's no M in there. I don't get why people focus solely on the tattoo and not the fact that he spent his entire adult life prior to running for office on re-enlisting or joining Blackwater. Yeah, it's true. The Blackwater thing's pretty bad. I know he's gotten in some heat lately because apparently he, as a serviceman, he was patrolling outside Abu Ghraib. Like, he wasn't one of the guards in the prison or whatever, but he was there, which is insane. And there's a Reddit post from him. Hold on. Can somebody find it for me? Where somebody asks him what war he'd like to fight in, and he was basically like, well, the easiest wars to fight are ones where you're killing civilians. Ones where you have to fight against actual militaries are tough. Can somebody find that for me? Lamau, that's true though. Yeah, he's spitting facts with that one. Anyway, if somebody could like procure that, I would appreciate that. So is the military filled with neo-Nazis as well? I mean, there's some, but like he's not just a regular serviceman. He was in Blackwater, you know. It's not just like regular, you know. Oh yeah, here we go. This is an insane. Which American wars would you have volunteered to fight in? Volunteered to fight in. The Indian Wars, the Philippines, Haiti and Nicaragua in the 1920s, Vietnam, Nicaragua, and El Salvador again in the 80s. Incomprehensible. This is and the most people. So tell me this guy didn't know what a Totenkopf was when he knows about these conflicts. No one in America knows about our colonization of the Philippines. That's just not part of our like collective cultural memory. In order to know about that, you need to have some degree of historical literacy. How long was this posted? Some years ago. Some years ago. Unless you're Filipino. Yeah, well, you know. As for would have, I did for Iraq and would love to get into the Ghan. Would love to get into the Ghan, Afghanistan. Small wars are pretty enjoyable. It's the big ones with days of artillery fire and inhuman brutality that take the fun out of fighting. But small wars, and Iraq and Afghanistan are indeed small wars, provide the rush of small combat actions along with the intellectual challenge of building personal relationships and infrastructure within the local community. Small wars are thinking wars, which I much prefer over the bloody slugfest of great power conventional war. Oh, and the revolution, American Revolution. Because I'm American. Posted 12 hours ago, though. Are you guys aware of how screenshots work? Out of curiosity, do you think that if we waited here an hour, this would tick up to 13? So we can all agree that anyone who would post this has to know what a Totenkopf is, right? Like 100%. There's no fucking way. This is like an insane, like, Hearts of Iron 4 Blackwater military psychopath post that, like, there's just no way. Pretty hard to disagree. History is not a proficiency check. I won't argue with your delusions. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna argue the idea that you can have a Nazi symbol on your chest for 15 years and not know, but you're also the kind of person to engage in the kind of, like, insane psychopathic shit like this. This insane shit. Like, this comment on its own is fucking disqualifying. It's insane. So, like, the only conclusion that I can derive from this, the only conclusion the only thing that I can get from this, I guess, is that I think the original tattooing was a mistake, because I don't think he is or has been at any point a Nazi. What I think happened was he got the tattoo, woke up, realized, holy shit, I have a fucking Totenkopf, and then he thought it was funny. Because he was a military vet, a Blackwater mercenary, a military, like, psychopath, who was like, this is now part of my personal story. Yeah, babe, I'm not a Nazi. Like, I just got this while blackout drunk in Croatia, you know? Like, 82 IQ behavior, no personal accountability, just, like, very deranged, out there, like, incoherent view on life. You know what I mean? Very, very, like, if you could imagine a mercenary fighting in the 100 Years' War, it's just some truly, like, guts, Band of the Hawk bullshit. That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking, like, a person who has a very unserious view of life, including his own, and just runs with it. You know what I mean? That's my guess. I don't think he's actually a Nazi. This, by the way, is a level of nuance and specificity that I am only willing to engage in because he comes across as sincere. I would never be this charitable with anyone who was already on the right. That's insane, you know? If there was anyone on the right who was anywhere near this level of, like, radioactive, then I wouldn't even bother. And I would mock you for doing the same, you know? Yeah, Jesus Christ. Do you think this will cost him in the race? Well, as people in chat keep trying to spoil because they don't understand, like, good comedic timing. So far, no. He's actually dominating in the early polls. Within the Democratic primary, within Democratic voters, he's nearly, like, 2-to-1 lapping Mills. After hearing PLATNER's statements defending past remarks, 45% said it made them more likely to support him. But that's past remarks. The polling, I think, only slightly includes the results from the Nazi tattoo. So we got a post-controversial Reddit comments polling, but now we need the post-Totenkopf polling to really find out how people feel about this. You know? Tattoos as well, read the image. Nope, the poll does not fully account for that. The range of time. Oh, hold on. No, you're right. This is from 22 to 23. The thing that I was thinking of a poll from 17 to 21. Okay, okay. This is the post Nazi tattoo poll then, huh? Huh. Well, he also put out a video directly addressing it. If you even care, let's see what you got. I haven't seen this one. I've been too busy you know, hanging out.
Hey everyone, Grant Plattner here. I want to talk to you about something. In 2007, when I was a young infantry sergeant in the Marine Corps, myself and some machine gunners I served in Fallujah and Ramadi with were on our third deployment. We were in a naval vessel and we pulled in for a Liberty port in Split, Croatia. We went ashore to do the thing that young Marines do, which tends to be carousing and sometimes getting tattoos. We wanted to get something that represented our jobs, our service, fighting in Fallujah and Ramadi as machine gunners.
And it ended up being unexpectedly on the nose.
We went ashore, we found a tattoo parlor after a fair amount of heavy carousing, and we found a tattoo on the wall, a piece of flash that looked like a terrifying skull and crossbones. We thought it looked cool, and so we got it. I have had this tattoo for the last 18 years. I re-enlisted into the United States Army with this tattoo, where I was screened for hate and gang-related tattoos. I worked for the State Department as a contractor, where I got a full physical, which included screening my tattoos. I've gone through life with this thing, taking my shirt off, having photographs taken, videos taken. I've been very, very open in my life with the fact I had a skull and crossbones on my chest, because that's what I thought it was. It's come to my attention that it has a stark resemblance to a symbol that is used by neo-Nazis.
That's dishonest. It doesn't have a stark resemblance to it. It is the symbol, and it's not used by neo-Nazis. It was used by the Nazis. It wasn't an after the fact, like, you know, it's assimilation. It was the symbol.
And I want to say that was not the intent at all. And the idea that I've been going around with something like that utterly horrifies me. I know that symbols like this can be incredibly damaging to people, and the idea that I've had it all these years and it could have been read like that is incredibly troubling. I have lived a life dedicated to anti-fascism, anti-racism, and anti-Nazism.
I mean, he worked with Blackwater, but, you know.
I think that racism and anti-Semitism are a long scourge on our society and a long scourge on our politics, and I think it has no place in our world. For that reason, I have gone and gotten it covered up. Last night, I went to a tattoo parlor and I got this to cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery around dogs, because my wife Amy and I have two wonderful dogs that
incredible. An incredible bit, genuinely. Like, I can't even... Jesus fucking Christ. Unbelievable bit.
we love a lot. This far more represents who I am now than even the skull and crossbones did, which I thought that it was. This has come up because the establishment is trying to throw everything it can at me. It is terrified of what we are trying to build here. Every second we spend talking about a tattoo I got in the Marine Corps is a second we don't talk about Medicare for all. It's a second that we don't talk about raising taxes on the wealthy. It's a second we're not talking about the material struggles of Mainers as they try to scrape through a system that at its core is trying to rob them. And that's why tonight, I'm just going back right out on the road. We're holding a town hall in Ogunquit, where much like I've been doing for the past month, going around the state of Maine.
Nah, this strategy ain't it. Well, it's been working, actually. He's very far ahead right now in early polling, so you run with that.
Making myself accessible to Mainers in their communities so I can listen to them. I can hear about what it is they need to change in our political system, and that is what I'm going to continue dedicating my time to. Thank you all very much, and I really appreciate your support through all of this.
This guy is a massive fucking liability. The tattoo, the attacks he's going to get in the general, he would undeniably win. Just straight up against why am I blanking on her name? Fuck. Not Mills. I'm not saying the Collins, thank you. Yeah. He would undeniably win against Collins. Like, I have no doubt of that whatsoever. Yeah, what if he pulls a Fetterman? Well, I don't think Fetterman is actually a fair comparison, because Fetterman was like an open Zionist even when he was being like Fetterman was a walking contradiction from day one. There are no progressive Zionists. It's not an existing position. The stroke didn't actually change that, you know. More cinema? Yeah, more like cinema, but cinema was an open grifter. I guess I mean the problem that I have with him is more like I don't think this guy's a grifter. I just have no idea how seriously he's taking this or how good his decision-making processes are, you know? He's like, fuck, Jesus Christ, you had a Nazi tattoo on your chest for 18 years and you're lying about not knowing what it was, and I do think that's a lie. I don't know. I don't know, man. Bernie is still standing by him, by the way, which I'm not too surprised by.
I suspect that Graham Plattner is not the only American to have gone through a dark period.
Your candidate
in this bit, I don't know if he's defending the comments or the tattoo.
in Maine, running for Senate, Graham Plattner, has been subject to a lot of fire and fury, stories of old posts, crude comments about black diners, about rural white people.
Lying about his stances for political gain, that sounds a bit like grifting. No, because grifting is like lying for personal gain in the context of like your continued career, you know? In this case, it's more like he's lying about whether or not he was aware of the fact that it was a Nazi tattoo. That's just lying, you know? That's not really grifting. He's not really like being disingenuous about his positions for the sake of personal gain. It's more like, you know, well, he's framing it very conveniently for himself, which I just don't believe.
You said yesterday you are still supporting him. Why?
I am not overly impressed by a squad of media running around saying, what do you think about the tattoo on Graham Plattner's chest? Between you and me, there might be one or two more important issues, but let me go there.
It is worth keeping in mind, though, that even like a moderate Zionist, which represents at the minimum like almost every Democratic politician, is implicitly endorsing more open Nazi behavior than Plattner ever could with the tattoo on his chest. You know, like it's like choose your fighter. The Nazi tattoo on your chest, but also you disavow the genocide, or the person with no Nazi tattoos who every day goes up to the media and lies to defend Israel's genocide, you know? So there is kind of like a gulf here between symbol and action.
I'm not Graham's best friend. I met him several times. We did a rally in Portland, Maine, a great rally. I am impressed by the guy. This is a guy who will tell you who has served 4 tours of duty with the United States military. He was in the middle of some heavy-duty combat. He was a machine gunner. That's what you do. You mow down people, you know? He went through some very difficult experiences in the military as a machine gunner.
The Blackwater mercenary thing's a bad take. Vets after the financial crisis were in a tight spot. Yeah, but you can say that about like people just signing up with ICE right now. A lot of those people are in a tight spot financially. Also, the guy was making Reddit comments about how he would like love to fight in the Philippines. You know, like this guy was not like a world weary you know, pacifist down on his luck looking to make a few bucks so he can afford college or whatever. This guy clearly to some extent reveled in the notoriety and violence of his career path. You know, it's definitely not like just a financial decision.
Seeing his friends killed. Came out of the military. He will acknowledge, I'm not telling you what he doesn't say, he had PTSD. He went to the VA, and by the way, what he says, they rebuilt his life. All right. He went into a dark period in his life. I suspect that Graham Plattner is not the only American to have gone through a dark period. But what he did was he has expressed his darkness on the internet. Probably not a brilliant thing to do. All right. And he said things that are stupid, things that were hurtful. He has apologized for them. And what he says now, and the guy that I saw up on the stage in Portland, Maine, rather a brilliant guy. I mean, really a strong fighter for the working class, very articulate, very smart. And what he said is, yeah, I went through a dark period. I said stupid.
Assuming Plattner's political evolution is authentic, would having a masculine white man with previous repugnant views not be an asset? He had a Nazi tattoo in his chest. It's not even about his views necessarily. It's just, I doubt his decision-making abilities. It's not like leaving aside the honesty and the things that he used to believe and everything like that. I think that it's like, okay, first of all, has anyone checked any videos of his legs? Is there anything else we need to be concerned about? Does he have like a Sonograd asshole tattoo? I feel like this guy is every day with this fucking guy. This is how you guys must feel about me. Some weeks, you know, you go online, can't wait to watch some political content, yum yum. It's like, oh my God, what happened this time? Jesus fucking Christ, you know? So I sympathize to an extent. But, you know, I'm not running for the Senate.
Things. I am not the person today that I was back then. And I think as a nation, especially given the fact that we have a president who is convicted of 34 felonies.
I've heard that point. Yeah, right now, Plattner is absolutely lapping Mills. These are positions held within Democrats, so in the Democratic voter base. Socialist, progressive, moderate, conservative. Only conservative Democrats prefer Mills. And even then, not super strongly. By age, every age demographic, though more the young people, prefer Plattner to Mills. Men, overwhelmingly Plattner. Even women, 2-to-1 for Plattner. No college, Plattner. Yes college, Plattner. Incredible. But they both have equal favorability ratings, which is interesting. Welcome to Maine. Yeah. Kamala should have gotten a Nazi tattoo. You see, Kamala, if she did that, like white Hyperborea, the meme, you know, do you think that she would have won? Well, who the fuck is Mills? The governor. Is this the Appalachian working class hero we've been hearing about for years? Oh, man. Look, can we all agree at the very least that this is like an unbelievable shit show? I'm interested in seeing how this race plays out. I would still prefer him to Mills because I think that the #1 existential threat to this country right now is the Republicans and the inability for current centrist Democrats to oppose them in any way. So any step towards opposing Republicans, I think, actively denazifies this country, you know? That being said, he is a massive liability. Like, him running... God, do you know what they're going to do with this? Well, actually, I'm trying to say, like, it's a political liability because when he runs for the Senate next year, Republicans are going to run ads of him being a Nazi, but that's just going to lead to a bunch of young Republicans going based and voting for him. So maybe they're not going to do that. Republicans actually cannot afford to be openly anti-Nazi anymore. They literally can't. It's not even a joke. Like, they can't do that. So, I don't know. I really, 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 really do not trust this guy's political instincts. Well, I mean, we'll see how the race plays out, but it does seem like inertia's on his side. What liability? I mean, also, like, I don't know. What if he continues to make stupid decisions like this? Like, what if the kind of person who would run as a Democratic U.S. Senator with a Nazi tattoo on his chest, what if that person continues to make decisions in that vein, you know? I don't fucking know. Trump is doing great in office. Yeah, that's true. We just need to get him a really good assistant. That's probably true. Oh yeah, speaking of his the people around him, this is being covered by Politico, so there's definitely a bias here because they're evil. Graham Plattner is shaking up his campaign amid a swirl of controversy, bringing in a longtime friend to function as his main Senate campaign's new manager, hiring a compliance firm and sending NDAs to staffers. Kevin Brown, who became the campaign manager this week and whose past campaign work includes the presidential bids of Elizabeth Warren and Barack Obama, though he has not worked in Maine, is only one of the changes. The campaign has also brought on an in-house attorney, as well as a compliance firm, Spruce Street Consulting, which has ties to a constellation of buzzy progressives, including Zohran Mamdani. The campaign began sending NDAs to staffers last week, according to his former top political director, Genevieve McDonald, who said she declined to sign one. The campaign offered me $15,000 to sign an NDA, McDonald told Politico. Ooh, that's a fucking red flag. Oh my God. The NDA's coming out like after you start the campaign and offering that much money, campaign money, presumably money that you raised from like donors who want you to use it on advertising. You know, what information do they have that would make an NDA worth that much? That is very sussy. The asshole tattoo? It must have been the asshole tattoo. The Sonengrad. A statement from the campaign referred to the $15,000 offer as standard severance. That's bullshit. Not much specific information here. So glad retards like Vosh are dedicated to taking down leftist candidates. Hold on, let's take a look at your post history. Oh, we're doing circle firing squad again. Great clapping, retards are acting holier than thou. Retard leftist making this an issue. Cool, let's just drop another leftist and lose again, at Vosh. Congrats on being so much better than Plattner. Vosh dedicated to losing. That Nazi tattoo is gone, retard. Alright, cool, let's let the Republican candidate win. So glad retards like Vosh are dedicated to taking down leftist candidates. The bot? No, not a bot. There are people like this. I will say, when you act like this reflexively, what you're basically signaling publicly is that you have no standards at all, and that does make the left look bad. Like, you're hurting the left electorally. Not even like in the circular firing squad way, but what you're essentially saying is we should have to accept anything, and that puts us in a weaker position. You know, I mean, not even to speak of, because I've said he's preferable to Mills, so it's not even applicable in my case. But, you know, you're the one who's not willing to reason through it, you know. Yeah, it comes across kind of desperate, in my opinion. Man, I really wonder what the fuck they're offering that NDA for. What I found interesting is that the pro versus anti-Plattner discourse is not broken along ideological line. No, yeah, that's true. I've seen like shitpost lefty types on Twitter being like, yep, that's it. We can't defend this guy anymore. That's enough. And I've seen more like abundance type moderates, like Pod Save America, you know, be like, no, we're holding true to this guy, you know? It is a shit show. I'm seeing like a lot of people are fighting online about this, you know? MR is backing him. Emma's being kind of insane about this. I think I saw her down in the trenches. See if I can find it. Trying to find, I saw her defending. I'm not succeeding in finding it. Well, whatever. You and Hassan are the only people I've seen with normal or moderate takes on this, Vosh. What was Hassan's take? Is he riding with Plattner? Same as yours? He copied it for me.
First at 7 tonight, a political newcomer with a populist focus is making waves in Maine politics, and a new poll shows it may be working. Good evening. I'm Greg Lagerquist.
And I'm Stephanie Grinley. Thank you for joining us. Graham Plattner's campaign for Senate has included large crowds and controversies. And now a new poll shows the progressive Democrat has a big lead in an early poll, including over current Governor Janet Mills.
That's right. CBS 13's Julia Simone is breaking down these new numbers for us.
The Senate race has many candidates from both sides, but the names that remain the most notable are Down East Oysterman Graham Plattner and Governor Janet Mills in the Democratic primary. Graham Plattner has a 58% in this recent UNH poll. This comes after
breaking news, John. Donald Trump is suing us. Let's watch a clip to explain why.
Because the New York Times
And then possible connections to the this is at his brother's crooked. That's by the show. I don't have a preferred dog in this fight or a candidate in this race. I really liked Graham Plattner when I talked to him. I'd like to talk to Janet Mills. Maybe she's a good candidate. Maybe she's not. I want voters to decide. It's sort of how it works. I think, though, the people asserting as fact that Graham Plattner is a Nazi are fucking gross, and they're idiots, and it's absurd. And I think we as a culture maybe should require more than one data point before we lob that accusation against literally anyone. MAGA, lefty, anybody in between. Let's pin it down before you call someone a Nazi.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I thought a lot about this. I listened to the interview. Thought it was a great interview. I thought you did a great job. It wasn't a softballish interview by any means.
That wasn't fun for him.
You literally went through all of the Reddit posts.
A lot of mainstream Dems are staying out of this race, even establishment ones. I've noticed that. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of people are holding their breath on this one.
And then this, I found him talking about his service and what he went through in Iraq and Afghanistan and how bad it fucked him up.
Hold on, what are they? It's such an interesting.
So, guess what?
The lines are drawn in such interesting places.
Guys, Graham Plattner's tattoo has made me more ride or die for him than ever. Let me explain my thinking here. So, as Ryan and Emily covered yesterday, Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner is under fire for a variety of old Reddit comments and an extremely poor tattoo choice. So here's that tattoo revealed in a pic of Graham drunkenly serenading the crowd with Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball as a gag at his brother's wedding. Honestly,
Cover up the skull and crossbones. It's a Celtic knot with some imagery around dogs because my wife Amy and I have two wonderful dogs that
through a wide variety of Graham's often impolitic comments, which he made when he thought he had internet anonymity and no expectations of running for public office. So what do we see in those comments? Well, some comments on sexual assault and race. We're gonna get some weird tattoos, some off-color remarks, some very messy life trajectories. The reward, though, is you get a party that doesn't give America the ick. As Emma Vigeland puts it, quote, censorious hall monitor liberalism that refuses to accept growth in people unless you're a corporate centrist and all is forgiven, just ask Cuomo supporters, is far more of a threat to the Democratic Party's chances in the future than anything dug up on Graham Plattner.
Well, that's 100% true, absolutely. But I feel like we've lowered the bar pretty far, you know what I mean?
And it's more than the Democratic Party's chances, which are at stake here. Status quo neoliberalism has failed to deliver for people, and those failures are exactly what enabled the rise of fascism. The question of whether the Democratic Party base can elevate new candidates with new profiles and, most critically, new politics is existential for the party and for the country as a whole. So Graham's tattoo also raises the question of, what do we even consider to be a scandal? They want you to believe that a bad drunken tattoo is more scandalous than bad policy backing billionaires at the expense of ordinary people and support for genocide at the expense of our souls. We have to fight that view with everything that we have. In Maine currently, there's a choice between two leading candidates on the Democratic side. You've got the sitting governor, Janet Mills. She's the choice of Chuck Schumer and the DSCC. As governor of Maine, she has opposed a millionaire's tax. She vetoed adding higher income tax brackets.
A veteran in YouTube chat is going sicko mode on you. What did I do? What did I say? What the hell did I say?
She opposed hiking corporate taxes, but she did implement a cigarette tax, which will disproportionately hit the working class. Now, she did pick a fight against Trump, which I appreciate, but if it's not matched with a willingness to confront Capitol, it is not nearly enough. Mills also opposed local Israel divestment efforts in Maine. She threatened to veto statewide divestment efforts. She's been silent on the genocide and just generally toes the lockstep pro-Israel line. She also happens to be the least popular Democratic governor in the entire nation and would end her Senate term well into her 80s. Do you really believe that that is the type of candidate that Democrats should rally behind for the future of the party, let alone the country? Now, Graham supports a billionaire minimum tax.
Again, like it is 100% true that backing Israel in any capacity is a more effective advancement of Nazi values than anything anyone has ever accused Plattner of, you know? But again, the bar is very low. My concern mostly is just like his future decision making, because it seems like he's in a bit of a spiral right now. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit sympathetic, I guess, to the idea of, or I should say more sympathetic than most, the idea of a person chaining together a bunch of stupid decisions but still having a good perspective to offer. But one of the reasons why Zohran Mamdani has been so special is because he's a mix of good policy and incredibly good decision making. You know, it's easy to want to tax the billionaires. It's easy to be a populist. Being a populist is not exactly difficult. It's not a high bar. But Zohran is special because he's very competent. He's good at executing every element of what he needs to execute, and that's why he's going to win. Right now, it looks like Plattner might be like shockingly incompetent. He might be in the exact opposite. Like, even if you don't speculate on his broader moral character, it just seems like he is incredibly susceptible to bad decision making, past and present. You know, I mean, if he keeps acting that way, is PV still canvassing for Plattner? I'm not PV. I don't run PV. You got to ask PV. How the fuck would I know?
Supports Medicare for all, wants to surge federal government direct housing construction to deal with housing affordability, wants to end the forever wars, and especially to end the genocide and bring peace and justice to Palestinians. Now, with no public profile or political office, he has built a grassroots movement, both in Maine and around the country, of people who are inspired by his model of politics. This was just last night, by the way. He routinely garners hundreds of cheering supporters to his events. So, guys, is he a risk? Sure. Could more come out? Sure. But Maine Democrats have tried to beat Susan Collins with standard issue safe choices before.
Yeah, the best case scenario is that Plattner surrounds himself with like competent campaign managers who direct his energy and charisma in a way that pans out well. I don't know if I trust his individual decision making, but also senators are not individual. Oh my God, she's doing the fucking lol face. She's doing the you know what I'm talking about? Like the classic lol face. That's pretty impressive. Cool. Anyway, a senator is not like an individual political entity, right? Like a senator is a person who reps a body of campaign workers and staffers and consultants and advisors. Same's the case with any politician. So,
and all of them very safely lost. There is also, I should mention, another candidate named Jordan Wood in the race who is responsible for a network of scam PACs and running exploitative fundraising tactics, who has probably done more to harass Democratic voters and scam them out of money than perhaps any other individual. He's at 1% right now, by the way. So I'm encouraged by what I've seen so far in response to Tattoo Gate. Congressman Ro Khanna, Senator Sanders, Senator Heinrich, they're all standing behind Graham. Even a sort of centrist-ish Democrat, Ruben Gallego, did not throw Graham under the bus. Here are Bernie's most recent comments. Clip is a little long, but I couldn't cut any because you guys need all of this pure quintessential Bernie.
I do have a question about your endorsement of Graham Plattner.
I thought it was the American healthcare system, no?
Well, it's something he talks about a lot, right?
Okay. Well, let me just say a few words. Number one, I am impressed that the media is so concerned about the tattoo that
Did you guys see Bernie's recent takes on immigration? Bernie's actually defending him because he's in a Nazi unity ticket with Plattner.
Mr. Plattner has. Meanwhile, as a result of Trump's massive cuts to Medicaid, the estimate is that if we don't change that, 15 million people are going to lose their health insurance. 50,000 people a year are going to die. Maybe equivalent to the importance of Mr. Plattner's tattoo. In terms of Mr. Plattner, this is a guy who served four terms as in combat. He was a Marine, 4 tours of duty, and you were asking.
Because of our past John Fetterman trauma, which I do understand. But let's be real, guys. Fetterman did have ideological red flags in the present day, not based on some old post. The biggest red flags were on Israel, of course, and also that whole trying to murder a random black guy in his neighborhood situation. Also worth remembering, though, that Fetterman has literal brain damage, which apparently made him basically a different person. So it does seem like a pretty unique situation. The other intelligent critique I've seen from lefties is just basically, listen, guys, we got to pick our battles, and the Nazi tattoo guy is just not worth it. Journalist Adam Johnson, for one, tweeted this, quote, "Do you think it's wise to piss away capital defending someone with a Nazi tattoo, someone with little pedigree on the issues that matter, and was a Blackwater merc? Does this feel like a good use of our time and energy?" To that, I would respond, yes, this is the absolute best use of our time and energy. It is an essential use of our time and energy, and I will die on this hill. And to be honest, the shit posting, but mostly leftist Reddit posts, actually kind of allayed my fears on the Blackwater front, and that was the most concerning aspect of Graham's lore for me personally.
I have to, maybe in a broader sense, there's like an element of this that is good, just because now that the East Wing is demolished, everyone's a Nazi, everyone in the White House is a pedophile, the bar is down there in hell. I wonder if there's some benefit to be had from the, like, what we're seeing right now feels like a massive paradigm shift of what was previously that aforementioned, like, hall monitor liberalism Democrats are so fond of. You know what I mean? Like, every preferred Democratic candidate, avowed centrist Zionist, has personally killed 87 Palestinians, in bed with every corporation there is. But if you at any point in your life have said a swear word, if you've ever said schwears, then they'll go after you for it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they tut-tut. They gatekeep. They will be. They'll commit unspeakable acts of evil and then go after you for, like, civility breaches. So the fact, like, what we're seeing here seems kind of be like a consequence of that. You know, you pull the rubber band until it snaps. Fuck, they've been doing it so much with Zionism, especially, where, like, for 2 years now they've been trying to convince Americans who are fed up with it that opposing a genocide means you're anti-Semitic. And I'm sorry, like, that has been their only line. It's been their only line for years. Question after question, rebuttal after rebuttal. The only thing they have to say is that if you have any concerns whatsoever about the obvious like the just Hitlerite behavior of Israel and what they're doing over there in Gaza, then it must stem from anti-Semitism. It's the ultimate hall monitor behavior, you know? Oh, you can't oppose genocide, that's against the rules. Eventually the rubber band snaps, and now it's like, no, fuck it, actually. This anti-Zionist Maine senatorial candidate had a fucking Nazi tattoo until yesterday. What do you want? We saw Benjamin. I don't know. It's so interesting.
What is that? This?
Yeah, what's it?
Literally nothing. It's just it's a design.
Is it like a possum or I don't know?
Replace the tattoo coming after this video of the oyster farmer and first-time
mistakes in his life. He's made mistakes in his life. We all have. He deserves an opportunity to explain those mistakes, and he's doing that. I think another thing is, you know, a lot of people in politics don't answer questions like this. They try to get out of it. They try to blame mistakes on other people. We see Donald Trump do that every single day. I see.
Why are Zionist Dems like this guy defending him? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Plattner, dude. I have no idea where the lines are. It's crazy. There are, like, moderate Democrats saying that, hey, listen, boys will be boys, and lefties online going like, no, I'm done with this guy. I don't get it. I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. We live in a simulation. What do you want? I saw a Maoist saying he supports Plattner and a Trotskyist saying he needs to drop out. Oh, brother. Let me send this over to the editors. What's the title for this? The Plattner's tattoo gate is mind melting. Plattner's tattoo gate is driving me insane. The response to Plattner's tattoo gate is driving me insane. The Platt-Tat situation broke me. Honestly, that's not that bad. That's probably not good, actually. Okay, let me send that over. Okay. Speaking of more progressive candidates, the trans shark Stuffy is running in Illinois. What? What? I don't understand. The Blahaj? Yeah, what how is he a Blahaj? Cover SNAP benefits being cut? Fuck you. No. Starve to death. Yeah, you like that? Give me money. Okay. Hold on. There are so many tabs. Do you guys see this shit?
If you don't have any borders, then you don't have a nation, right? In a sense. So has historically the United States done well under Democrats and Republicans in protecting the border? The answer is no. Trump did a better job. I don't like Trump, but we should have a secure border. And it ain't that hard to do. Biden didn't do it. Those before him did not do it. We should have a secure border, period.
My face went protectionism. Bernie's always been an immigration conservative. Yeah, it's just it's an insane thing to capitulate on. It's an insane thing to give ground on. Not the best time for this. He really has capitulated to the Democrats. He's capitulated to their framing on glazing Republicans for their anti-migration strategy as well. Here's the majority report's opinion. Okay, we don't need to hammer on about this too much.
The latest in the Plattner saga, and we should say, I said this is obviously Oppo research. It was dumped. I think there's 2 or 3 things as the meta. So Plattner,
we're on our feeling for the past
candidates that can be deployed on them in this way. People have to understand that this is specific to Maine and their political environment, and this is a much more rural state. And in the same way that you had a lot of liberals get upset that Bernie Sanders is a little more Second Amendment than Hillary Clinton was in 2016, Plattner is going to be more of a Maine kind of...
Calling it Oppo research is weak sauce. Of course it's Oppo research. I guess the imbalance feels like when the two sides of the party are, on one side you have squeaky clean Ivy Law graduates who are all very evil and in bed with corporations but have led lives like designed around being politicians, and on the other side you have like regular people of strong moral convictions who have a past littered with like a, you know, internet archive history of messy stuff. The point is, like, you can't even do any Oppo research on a Dem candidate, like a mainstream Dem candidate, because what are you going to bring up? Their whole life's there on Wikipedia. They've been evil the whole time, you know? But you're not going to find any, like, Reddit threads of them saying weird shit or whatever, you know? They've been, like, scrubbed clean from the start. They're evil in a way that is, like, considered acceptable. You know, what Oppo research are you going to do on like, to me, being anti-BDS is more disqualifying than just about anything. Like saying that you would veto a state's BDS law, that's insane. But it's just right there in Wikipedia, you know?
Rural Democrat, and folks should probably try to accept that, because we're trying to elect the people that are most likely to vote to end the genocide in Gaza, to vote to raise...
What is BDS? It's a K-pop group.
Taxes on billionaires, and to make this country more livable for everybody. And I just, you know, I want us to be more strategic here, and in our coalition understanding that a Democrat like Zoran's politics aren't going to look exactly the same as Plattner's and his platform, but the important fundamental foundation is what's key, which are the things I just mentioned. Going after, you know, taxing the rich aggressively and reorienting our foreign policy in a way so that we're not committing genocide. And I am convinced that he is by far the best candidate still in that race to do that.
Anyway, the attack is now that he joined a socialist paramilitary group. So
I would also, I mean, but here's also the other, there's one other argument. It is extremely important in this election for the Democrats to make ground, if not take the Senate as well. And yes. I'm sorry. There are two options in Maine in this primary race, and it's Plattner and it's Mills. And the idea that Janet Mills could beat Susan Collins is absurd. It's patent.
I thought somebody said Sam Cedar was anti-Plattner.
Absurd. I understand she's won governor 2 times in a row. She's older than Collins. I think it's absurd because she's not offering anything that differentiates her from her. She herself said that she's doing a good job. Like, what is the point of her campaign? We know that she was reluctantly, she was recruited and she was reluctant to run. So even if you are looking at this from a Democratic, moderate, centrist, whatever you want to call it, perspective, the bottom line is that seat needs to be taken. And Plattner has caught on fire. Let me read a couple IMs because I think we get all different perspectives on here. Future.
Okay.
Same answer.
Why are you refusing to endorse?
I have not refused to endorse. I've refused to articulate my position, and I will momentarily at some point in advance of early voting.
Jesus Christ. Didn't he finally endorse Mamdani? Hakeem Jeffries endorses Mamdani for New York City mayor. Wow. Incredible stuff, really. Despite their principled disagreement. Oh yeah, of course, of course. Here, hold on. Finally. It's crazy that more lefties aren't taking like a perverse sexual satisfaction out of watching mainstream Democrats bend the knee, by the way. You know, if you want knee bending, you're not going to get you're not going to get more than this. This is as good as it gets, okay? More and more and more and more knee bending, every single, constantly. Yeah, it gives me the chub too, 100%. This fucking lunatic, this psychopath, this deranged, retarded freak, this fish-eyed bug man, having to bend the knee, finally, as we reach early voting, and, you know, provide his weak, you know, pathetic, concession-addled endorsement. Kathy Wokel came to his door at 2 a.m. Schumer's out there and alone now. Hold on, where was that hold on, where was that other bit from Jeffries? That freak show shit? Oh yeah, here we go.
In terms of the mayor's race in advance of early voting.
So I did watch the debate, and the themes of criticism that came up from the other two candidates were he's inexperienced and his comments on the Middle East are problematic. Are those likewise the same issues that you want to talk to him more about? What's left unsaid between the two of you?
Well, I've certainly already publicly
the latest
and privately communicated some of my concerns with respect to some of the views that he's expressed in terms of foreign policy, in terms of the mayor's race in advance of early voting.
So I did watch.
How much damage do we have to do to our country before we decide that infinite cuckoldry to Israel isn't worth it, man? The East Wing of the White House has been demolished. It's gone. There's a dang Cheeto in the White House. Oh.
Thanks.
Do you have anything positive to say about Mamdani, and do you recognise that your refusal to do so is splitting the Democratic Party?
I travel throughout the country, and the Democratic Party is as unified as I've seen us throughout the entire...
Oh my fucking God. Like, there's no consequences to this, man. Nobody believes this. The voters don't believe it. The other politicians don't believe it. Nobody believes this. Absolutely nobody. Nobody on earth.
This year, and you're about to experience that in real time. This won't be hypothetical. You're about to see it in real time in Virginia, in New Jersey, and in California as it relates to Prop 50. As I've said, I will have more to say about the mayor's race when I have more to say about the mayor's race in advance.
He's been saying this for 4 or 5 months now. In a statement to the New York Times, Mr. Jeffries acknowledged that the two men had areas of principal disagreement, but he said Mr. Mamdani had won a free and fair Democratic primary and emphasized that the party needed to unite against the existential threat from President Trump. Just a day before early voting begins. Blah, blah, blah. Great. He did it in that interview. At this point, why would his endorsement matter? Knee bending. It really only matters for Jeffries. Jeffries is super, super vulnerable to a primary. And also, like, his job, essentially, is to keep the Democratic Party complicit and weak, you know? And he can only do that if he can offer people some kind of, like, convincing narrative of how listening to him is the right way to go. And he probably can't do that if he remains, like, at war with Mamdani, a person infinitely more popular and influential than he is, despite only being a mayor-to-be. Yes, he has repeatedly dismissed the possibility of a primary challenge, despite his unbelievable unpopularity. Again, just no idea what's going on with this guy, what mix of retardation and malice. Somebody earlier said that the strategy with Mamdani specifically has shifted recently. It's shifted from it's anti-Semitic to not support Israel to just being openly Islamophobic, and I think that's true. I saw a clip. I don't know. I don't have the clip. I saw a clip of it was Cuomo attending some like far-right synagogue, some like Jewish leaders meeting or whatever, where they were talking about how Mamdani taking power represented the greatest fear of the Jewish community. It was like another Shoah. Like that was the implication, at least. I mean, it was like really freak shit. Cuomo talking to Sid Rosenberg this morning. God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat? Cuomo asks. He'd be cheering, Rosenberg says. Cuomo paused and chuckled before saying, that's another problem. Oh, and then there's this fucking one. Yeah, there's this one. Andrew Cuomo's campaign just posted and quickly deleted. You'll recognize this behavior from the Trump aligned people, by the way. The like weird AI generated shit posting. an AI-generated ad depicting, quote, criminals for Zohran Mamdani. If you haven't seen this one, you're going to love it. I love how it opens with, like the #1 thing people on the right attack Mamdani for, which is eating rice with his hands.
Zohran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual support...
Like, you have to specifically prompt the video. So if your opener to the video is, hey, this guy eats rice with his hands. Like, again, this was posted by Cuomo's campaign.
think?
Mamdani isn't crazy. He's just trying to even the playing field. You know, give everyone a fair shot. Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the...
Jesus fucking Christ.
police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct, but that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting. Third-degree assault.
This is legit Nazi-level racism? Yeah, because, like, Cuomo's in line with the Nazis. Cuomo is openly courting the support of Donald Trump against Mamdani. And Trump is the Nazi candidate, you know? Also, and like, pardon me for dipping my tip into this, you know, to the soy sauce here, I guess, a little bit, but like, Nazism, or at least Nazi-esque views, are really common to far-right Jewish supremacists in New York. The kinds of people who have been advocating since day one, not only for like Zionism, but also Greater Israel, the eradication of the Gazan people, the land sales in occupied West Bank settlements that are getting taken over by like civilian militias being armed directly by Ben Gvir, you know, the people who have been extremely Islamophobic. These people are just like far-right militant religious extremists. It's just they're Jewish, you know. Normally you expect to see it with Muslims and Christians because those are larger religious groups with, you know, different geopolitical circumstances dictating patterns of behavior, but they exist in basically every group in the world. And the problem is that in New York City, these people have the ear of Andrew Cuomo, and they have had the ear of the New York City Democrats for a long time. And that is because the New York City Democrats are in bed with money and power, and these guys have a lot of money and power. That's it. They don't really have their ear anymore. Well, they certainly fucking have Cuomo's.
trespassing, prostitution,
and drunk.
That's crazy.
Driving.
With plans to decriminalize all drugs, Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health facilities we need, he wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts.
Imagine the prompt for the prostitutes. Yeah, black pimp, 70s, thug, ghetto, gangsta, etc., etc. White women in the van. Yeah.
These are actual policies Mamdani and the DSA want to implement on day one. When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help, you know, kumbaya the situation.
Breathe in, breathe out.
So, like, stylistically, this is indistinguishable from a lot of the stuff that Trump has errantly posted on Truth Social, you know? Or like, you know, his supporters post, like insane AI deepfake-esque, highly racialized, like highly informed by internet brain poison. But it's with Cuomo.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences. Guilty!
But Mamdani says you're free to go. Who cares if legalizing prostitution?
Jesus fucking, I can't get over the fact that this is how they decided to pick the sex trafficker, man. That shit's so fucking funny.
Statistically leads to an increase for sex trafficking of women and young girls by 70%.
You can't have safety without equality.
For unlawful abiding citizens. Abiding citizens like us, globalize the intifada.
I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal. For Zohran.
For Zohran Mamdani.
I didn't have a real job until I was 30, but sure, give me the keys to the city. What's the worst that can happen?
Paid for by Cuomo for NYC.
Cool. Who will genuinely believe that? No one. There's a reason they deleted it. This is insane. It's electoral poison. It doesn't work. The point I'm making is that the people supporting Cuomo and the people working with Cuomo are the same type of guy. Like the same weird, always online shitposting neo-Nazis who just like the fact that they're getting the opportunity to take a brown guy down. You know, like we're talking about an overlap in the Venn diagram. And as unpopular as it is, like there are a lot of people like this in the Democratic Party. And essentially 100% of them are Zionists. Like that is the line that splits. There are a lot of people in the Democratic Party who I disagree with, who I don't think are like sociopaths, obviously, like the majority of them. There are a lot of Zionists who I think are wrong on the issue. You know, for a variety of reasons, they're misinformed or they're morally off. But I don't think every one of them's a sociopath. But for the specific kind of sociopath that would produce something like this, basically 100 times out of 100, we're talking about a Zionist. We're talking about like someone for whom we talked about Politico earlier. You know, Politico, the guy who runs it, I forget his name, the guy who owns Politico, the guy who said Zionism über alles, that German guy who calls himself a non-Jewish Zionist. Who's Axel Springer, thank you. That guy who's like gleefully talked about, you know, genocide in the Middle East, freak shit like that. These people, they're like, they just look for war. They just look for, you know, suffering to attach themselves to. They like it. They love that shit. Look who's running Hot Girls for Cuomo. Yes, I saw. Emily Austin, and then in the very next, stealing Zaran's typeface here, and then like the next day she was in Israel. Yeah. Go to hotgirlsforcuomo.com. Nice meme. Is she Jewish, or is this something Christians do too? It's just something people do to show fealty to Israel, okay? It's not a religious requirement for any Abrahamic faith to do this. It's just a Zionist fealty thing. Isn't this the girl at a screaming match with Hassan and Piers Morgan? I don't fucking know. It's real, just fucking look it up. What's real? What are you talking about? Why are you yelling at me? Sorry? Well, what the fuck were you yelling at me for? The website? What about the website? Shut the fuck up. Richie Torres was complaining about the... Oh, yeah, we have the audio. Hold on. For the 9/11 comment with Mamdani.
Any given morning, there's a crisis. And people's lives are at stake. God forbid another 9/11. Can you imagine Mamdani in the seat?
Yeah, I could. He'd be cheering.
Yeah, well, it's another problem. But can you imagine that?
No.
Listen. Mamdani was in the seat on 9/11.
Yeah.
What would have happened in the seat?
Oh, come on. Listen.
Too Islamic even for Torres? Seriously. Did something happen to Torres after that Friedland interview? Did he have like a mental break? Did he like finally at last realize that there's no electoral future for him if he remains the guy who's known for being Zionist? He was defending Mamdani a few months back too against the Islamophobia from Dems. Okay, was that before or after the Friedland interview? Before?
We stand on the precipice of an election, but
It's from 24 minutes ago.
that is not what today is about. We know that in less than 2 weeks we will say goodbye to a disgraced former governor and our current indicted mayor. The bigger question is whether we are willing to say goodbye to something much larger than either of these two men. It is whether we are willing to say goodbye to anti-Muslim sentiment that has grown so endemic in our city that when we hear it, we know not whether the words were spoken by a Republican or a Democrat. We know only that it was spoken in the language of politics of this city. In an era of ever-diminishing bipartisanship, it seems that Islamophobia has emerged as one of the few areas of agreement. And while I appreciate all who have rushed to my defense over these past few days, I think of those Muslims in this city who do not have the luxury of being the Democratic nominee, who do not have the luxury of being...
And it's crazy how even the Democrats are
worthy
now openly Islamophobic. Yeah, and they did it for Israel. There was literally nothing. There was no prompt, no incentive. There haven't been any big like Muslim terror attacks or anything like that over here in the States. I mean, obviously October 7th, but that happened in a different country. I know a lot of people over in the Capitol building want to make me think that that happened to America, but it fucking didn't. Like, there was no reason, absolutely no reason politically to double down on this except to worship Israel, to pray, lay fealty to Israel. That was it. Just that. And they all did it. Well, they haven't all been Islamophobic, but god damn, man. They've really been laying it on thick.
Solidarity. While my opponents in this race have brought hatred to the forefront, this is just a glimpse of what so many have to endure every day across this city. And while it would be easy for us to say that this is not who we are as a city, we know the truth. This is who we have allowed ourselves to become. And a question lies before each of us. Will we continue to accept a narrow definition of what it means to be a New Yorker that makes smaller every day the number of those guaranteed a life of dignity? Will we remain in the shadows, or will we together step into the light? There are 12 days remaining until Election Day.
I mean, to be fair, it's such a tiny minority to them, and the rest are all condemning it. No, I strongly disagree. The majority of Democrats are still holding quiet on Mamdani. You know, the fact that the leadership of the Democratic Party, in the form of Schumer and up until like an hour ago, Jeffries, were both being quiet on Mamdani and actually enabling a lot of attacks against him, as both leaders of the Democratic Party and New York Democrats. The fact that that wasn't more spoken about, more attacked, when everyone should be able to see that Mamdani represents the future of the Democratic Party. This is a representation of the broader will of the Democratic Party. It's just that most Democrats are weak and they're unwilling to speak up themselves. They're cowards. But they all endorsed it. They all enabled it. Every Democrat who didn't endorse Mamdani, as far as I'm concerned, you know, within reason. I'm not expecting every city councilman to, but on a national stage, or at least when prompted, these are all people who were falling in line with the broader strategy, the one that was led by Jeffries and Schumer, and that was a strategy of, please God, keep quiet and let Cuomo win. And he didn't. And only now are we facing the music. Looks like he's going to be the mayor. Looks like his popularity meant something. Looks like we can't actually sacrifice every political principle we had at the altar to Israel. We have to do something with this now. So I mean, a lot of the Democrats were too cowardly to actually work with it, but I think this is a very mainstream position, you know? After all, supporting Israel, even passively, voting to provide arms to Israel, is Islamophobia. Like, we give Israel weapons that they use to mulch Muslim kids, you know? Like, like the Islamophobia is baked into the system electorally. I mean, they could choose not to vote for it, but what are you going to do? Even AOC votes to fund the fucking Iron Dome. So no, it's not at all surprising to me. Everything we were willing to sacrifice to protect Israel.
I will be a Muslim man in New York City each of those 12 days and every day that follows after that. I will not change who I am, how I eat, or the faith that I am proud to call my own. But there is one thing that I will change. I will no longer look for myself in the shadows. I will find myself in the light. Thank you very much.
Did Cuomo apologize?
Likely not, no.
Shortly after I'd announced I was running for state assembly, a well-meaning Muslim uncle pulled me aside. He smiled softly and looked at me with care. In a quiet voice, he told me I did not have to tell people I was Muslim. His eyes kind, his beard proud, and his face heavy with the implications of the unsaid. I had not learned the lesson that he had been taught time and again. It is the lesson that safety could only be found in the shadows of our city. That it is in those shadows alone where Muslims could embrace their full identities. And that if we were to emerge from those shadows, that it is in those shadows that we must leave our faith. These are lessons that so many Muslim New Yorkers have been taught again and again.
I love him so much, genuinely. Yep. And he's going to win. He's going to win by a lot, and then he is going to be the mayor. Assuming some, you know, the Trump team or Schumer doesn't murk him or whatever. And I mean, this is, look, and the crazy thing is the Democrats did it to themselves. You know? If the Democrats weren't so evil and repugnant and disgusting and unprincipled and willing to sacrifice every single one of us, you know, body and soul on the altar for Israel, then a long shot chance from a state assemblyman would not have been able to make it as far. Cuomo helped to enable Mamdani. This Democratic Party helped to enable Mamdani, you know? If the Democrats weren't so fucking bad to begin with, then these long shots wouldn't even be a chance. They would have more internal cohesion. But they've embarrassed themselves over this time and time again, you know? And now you have these pathetic, whimpering endorsements from people like Jeffries. We'll see if Schumer ever comes around. Not that it makes much of a difference at this point. But I do want to see him bend the knee. I want to see him do it on camera. I want to see him cry. And while we're on the subject of Mamdani, what's the name of the podcast that Schultz is on? Mustache fella. Flagrant? Gotcha. Mamdani went on the Flagrant podcast. One of the, and I'm saying this, and the bar is so low. the bar is so low as I say this. One of the more intelligent dude bro podcasts who supported Trump, and now they're like, what the fuck? Trump is doing all the shit he said he was going to do. What the fuck? You know? But boy, is he handsome. I'm willing to say it, even if you aren't.
You should have come through. We're at Maharaja Suites in Jackson Heights.
Hey, dude.
Giving number tie.
I would love to.
All right. Next time I'll let you know.
I'm going to get your number because your comms team ducks me. So I'm going to get your direct number.
Take it.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to get it after this
I'll give it to you
episode.
right now, bro. Because they'll probably yank me.
Yeah,
we got to start this immediately. Zara runs a tight ship.
Yeah, dude. She don't fuck around.
Yeah.
She does not.
Feel free. You can share with everybody here.
Okay, beautiful.
You've done, like, I want to give you, like, a few compliments here. But they're also, like, very validating because
a lot of dislikes here too. A lot of mad boys. Schultz not believing Zoran can pull this off, but truly believe Trump was capable of making America great again is something he needs to reflect on. Do-do-do. 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 The comments seem pretty positive, you know. I wonder where the dislikes are from.
I think, you know, every week I'm talking to Charlemagne and we're talking with the boys here on the pods, and it's like we keep on saying, hey, Democrats, can you please just run for something and not against somebody? Yeah. It is a very simple solution, but I think people at their core want to feel like their issues are addressed, you know, and their concerns are met. Not simply that guy bad.
Yeah.
And then you guys have done it masterfully. Obviously, you're a great talent and your team is phenomenal. Zara, I know you're listening. You're great. You're great. You're great. Give us a little more time. You're great. You're great. But it was like, it was really validating to see that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, if you talk about the issues people care about and say that you're going to do something about it, they will support you. What a fucking crazy idea.
You know, it's also crazy. The things that I would say you inspire, change, and...
Remember how I said that young conservative men have a difficult time hating Mamdani? And if they do, it has to be over stupid, meaningless culture war bullshit like him eating rice with his hands. As if Americans don't like wings, which get your hands disgust. You gotta, after wings, you have to like plunge your hands into the soap bucket, you know? You have to scour them, ribs. If anyone gets to be racist about brown people eating rice with their hands, it's me, because you show me some wings and my ass is too autistic. I'm like, I don't want to get the sauce under my fingernails. Fucking feels gross. What if my mustache feels askew while I'm eating the wings, and then I feel like I have to correct the mustache, but I've got wing sauce all over my fingers? You know, I'm not here for that. You know, I eat fries and pizza and everything, hamburgers with my hands, but the wings are a little much for me. What about dry rub wings? Well, yeah, that's a different story. Sure, that's a dry rub.
Hope, the last great Democrat, those were kind of his mantras, or however you'd say it. Change and hope, and that's what you inspire.
Was that Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's been lost a little bit.
I mean, I appreciate you guys. I think it's just, there's been a lot of lecturing and not much listening. And, you know, we saw a swing towards Trump here in New York City in the last general election.
Whose responsibility was that? Who the hell made that? What the fuck are we even talking about?
Dude, those guys.
Yeah.
I can't believe they did this.
But you know, it was there are a lot of caricatures of who Trump voters are. And in New York City, we saw the swing was actually in the heart of immigrant New York. And I went to Hillside Avenue in Queens. I went to Fordham Road in the Bronx. And I asked New Yorkers, who did you vote for and why? And I met the vast majority of them were Trump voters. And I asked them why, and it just came back to cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And if I had spent that time lecturing them as to why they were wrong, as opposed to listening to them as to how we could get right, then we would run a very...
It is true. Like, regardless, like, you can make a million points about how fucking stupid voters are, and you'd always be right, okay? If you bet against the intelligence of the average voter, you will always be correct. You will always win. However, it is true that Democrats are the only people who will lecture voters for not voting for them. That shit's insane. As entitled as Trump is, he just talks about how the election was stolen or how Democrats lie. He doesn't talk to the camera and say, you all should have voted for me. I'm sure he said it a few times, but it's not part of his broader, it's not part of his rhetorical appeal, you know? Democrats do it constantly. Kamala Harris is out there doing her book tour. That's what she says every time. Oh, well, if only you'd voted for me, then maybe we wouldn't have the dang Cheeto in the White House, and exactly the same number of Palestinians would be dead. The Democrats are really insistent on this like, well, if you didn't vote for us, that must be because you don't understand the issues well enough. They never make a case. They don't make an argument. Lying is better than whining? I mean, no. Why not just, like, run for something? Why not just be, like, a good candidate, you know?
Different campaign. And this is one thing I said I wanted to talk about. I feel like the establishment Democrats don't understand a pretty simple thing. We want to vote for someone who might make things better. Even if the risk is it will make things worse. A lot of people voted for Trump because he might make things better, and the other person is saying, I wouldn't change anything.
This is fundamentally true. No matter how poorly reasoned the bet is, this is retard analysis. Yeah, but that's the voter. That's voters.
Not good. In New York, things are not good right now. The other guy, to me, is just saying it's the same, and you're saying it could get better.
It's a privilege to maintain the status quo. You know what I mean? Like, if it, like, we're privileged, like, it's very nice to know that we're going to be okay. Listen, delete this.
Anyway, big part of the point that I was making before I got off on track and started talking about eating wings and getting the sauce on my fingers, is that Mamdani is like a normal chill-ass guy, so he can go on a podcast and seem normal. Can you imagine Kamala Harris here? Her lips pursed, her eyes like slightly squinted, like she's trying to stare right through you. Every question, she pauses for a second and then rehearses one of like 8 lines she has, you know? Yeah, lizard person shit. It's sickening to watch. You all feel it when you watch. You know what I'm talking about. Kamala Harris, anytime she talks with a normal person, any like unscripted engagement, there's that tension of like, you know, is the skin gonna come off? You know what I mean? You never feel that way with Mamdani because he's just a normal guy. I mean, he's not a normal guy. He's very intelligent and charismatic and so on, but he's not like weird the way the Democrats so often are.
We can't afford more of the same.
So here's the thing. Like, it's so funny because I saw it was like Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk, and they were talking about you. I don't know if you remember this.
I didn't see this.
But they were speaking, and it was almost like this shoehorn
Charlie
theory.
Kirk? Haven't heard of the guy.
Have you ever seen that, like, politically,
No,
what happened?
Horseshoe.
Oh, sorry. Horseshoe, yeah. So it's like, and I think that they were basically saying that you were meeting the moment in terms of what people are concerned with, right? And it's obviously cost of living, and it's like, I think it's so specific. I think it's like, it's rent, and I think everything is derivative of rent.
Yeah.
And
it's the #1 issue in the city.
The number,
housing.
Bro, I started looking up numbers because, like, I think a 2-bedroom 6 years ago was the average 2-bedroom compared to right now. I think has gone up 90%.
I mean, it's untenable, right? Like, and I think this is the thing that
90%, almost doubled in 6 years.
That's great. How are people supposed to keep up with this? And I think what's so kind of to what you guys were saying, if the politics on offer is right now is as good as it's ever going to get, that's not good enough for the vast majority of people.
And I think it speaks to how out of touch a lot of them are.
Yeah, and I think it's just, you have, you know, I spoke to...
It's true. It's fair. It's true. It's true and it's fair.
To a nurse who, after she finishes her shift, she drives for an hour and a half, leaving...
And the fucked up thing, too, is that there's a really big narrative that you can build here. Right? Like, the reason why everything is getting more expensive and it feels like everyone's getting strangled all the time is because more and more money is being siphoned out of the real economy. And this happens in a wide variety of ways, you know, speculative investment, quantitative easing, fucking Bitcoin data centers, whatever. But like a huge amount of it also is through our land use policies, through zoning, through what we allow people to charge in rent, you know. These aren't natural market forces. They're facilitated by law. We can choose how these interactions take place. At the end of the day, there are a lot of people who want New York City and basically every nice part of the world to turn into Dubai, you know? They want it to be a playground for the hyper-wealthy, and it is supported by a slave base, you know? They want all of the service worker jobs in New York City to be filled by people who are driving in from Jersey, like a 2-hour commute, and they wake up at 4 a.m. in order to make it there for morning shift, and they're miserable and they can just barely scrape together enough money to live where they live, and they could never live in New York City. And the only people who would actually ever get to enjoy New York City, live there, experience it, not just work there, would be the hyper wealthy. That's what they want for, at the very least, like parts of Manhattan, you know, unquestionably. And that's the direction that every beautiful part of the world is going in, unless it is actively opposed. We've done this to our downtowns all over America. Downtown used to be a place where people lived. You have the storefronts, yes, but then you have the apartments where the people who run the storefronts live right above them, and the apartment blocks and the townhouses and the condos and the row houses. But over time, as the suburbs stretched out further and further, people still wanted to go downtown, right? More of downtown had to be hollowed out with parking lots, you know, so that the suburbanites could drive in and do their shopping or whatever. So it became less a place for people to live and more a place for people to visit. But people do still live there. And their lives get worse and worse.
State of New York to get to where she can afford a place.
Wow.
That's what you're putting working people through. People are living in Pennsylvania, Connecticut.
And my point is, the Democrats will look at that system, look at that worsening inequality, and go, they won't even talk about it. And if they do talk about it, or even like tangentially address it, they won't speak at the core of it. They'll, what are they? Oh, here's like a grant for your first home purchase. Okay, here's, you know, what? No, they don't talk about anything fundamental. Trump has spoken about fundamental change. You'd have to be retarded to believe in it, as these guys are, not Mamdani, the rest of them, but he did. When people are unsatisfied with the way things are, they will take long shots on the prospect of improvement.
Connecticut, Jersey City, commuting it.
Dude, white people have to live in the outer boroughs. We need to fix this. What the hell's going on here?
This is what happens when you call him a socialist. You got to overthrow him.
It's just like, I'm going after Astoria. I'm going after Inside Bay.
Come on, the Greeks are not white. No, but continue, please. Yeah. It is absurd that in order to afford her life, you know, and there are obviously certain like circumstances that have created this situation. What I want to talk about more is, because I looked at your plan to go fix it, and I would really like this to be able to happen. A lot of people are making this like impending war about you and Trump. I think it's going to be you and Albany, bro. Can you speak a little bit more on that? Like what you need Albany to essentially allow you to do?
Yeah.
There are restrictions in government. Like there are systems in place that don't allow you to do what you want, even if you think it's in the best interest of people, and even if that's what the people want. So how are you going to convince Hochul? How are you going to convince these people to allow you to enact these policies?
So New York City continues to be a creature of the state. New York City, if you have an ambition for the city that matches the scale of...
What the fuck is Albany? I know it's crazy and it doesn't make any sense, but New York City is not actually the capital of New York State. Albany is the capital of New York State, which means that for a wide range of policy decisions, you know, you need to consult with them.
The crisis, you have to have an Albany agenda. So when de Blasio wanted to deliver universal pre-K, he knew he would have to go to Albany to get that money. He actually overcame the objection.
Europeans quaking. This is like the state capital. This is like the geography version of the imperial measurement system. You know what I mean? Explaining to Europeans that 12 inches is a foot and 5,280 feet is a mile. Explaining to them that Albany is the capital of New York, not New York. New York.
Objections of then Governor Andrew Cuomo to get that money to make this a reality. Now it is one of the best examples of government actually meeting the needs of working people. And so when we talk about raising revenue, you know, raising taxes on the top 1% by 2%, the top corporate tax to match that of New Jersey, that's something we will do in Albany. And that's partially why the endorsements of Governor
Hochul.
You
almost said it. You almost said it.
I'll never be taking that one.
You almost said it.
Governor
He's
Hochul.
posting that on Instagram immediately.
You see the trauma is coming back. having to deal with that man so much. Governor Hochul.
He just comes across so human, man. And because of that, he has a charm. It's very difficult to dislike him. I know you all know that, but These guys were all, I don't think all of them were Trump supporters. At the very least, the culture of this podcast was pro-Trump in a kind of like low IQ, MAGA, red wave energy sort of way, if not in like a hyper-specific, these are all the fascist policies we support kind of way.
Assembly Speaker Carl Heystreet, Majority Leader of the state Senate Andrea Stewart-Cousins.
There's no one like him. Honestly, in this respect, I disagree. I think that there are fucking tons of young progressive men like him. They've just all been systematically removed from the Democratic Party. The Dems crush them because, and a big part of it again is that you cannot be this guy and be a Zionist. It's not possible. Being a Democrat Zionist requires of you a kind of deranged freak mentality that will come across when you interview. God, remember the Friedland Richie Torres interview? Inhuman fucking weirdo. And they're all like that, man. They're all like that. Every Zionist politician is like that. Or at least the ones who are, militant about their Zionism, the ones who make it like an active part of what they talk about, what they believe in. How do you defend that to an environment like this? You can't. So of course they're weird.
These are endorsements not just of me, but of the agenda. Because in Albany, it's often spoken about as 3 men in a room. Now it's 2 women and a man.
Right.
How do you get these guys and gals back into the party? You literally just have to give them a narrative. The Democrats have no narrative. The only thing the Democrats have ever argued, at least in recent memory, is we're the ones who deserve to run the government because for one, it's our turn, and for two, we're better technocrats than the Republicans. By the way, we'll keep things the same, maybe marginal improvement. That's not an exaggeration. It was the case with Hillary and Kamala. The only difference with Biden was that Biden benefited from the panic about COVID. Trump was obviously mishandling it. Everyone knew Trump was an idiot and that he wasn't the guy who could handle this. And Biden benefited from that like uptick in attention. Kamala saw a downturn in voter turnout in large part because she was more of the status quo. She literally campaigned on doing the same things as Biden. There's no narrative. There's nothing to drive you, How on earth do you expect? It's politics, man. It's a popularity contest. It's literally a popularity contest. How do you expect to motivate people to vote for you if you're literally not giving them reasons? I don't get it. It's unbelievable. It makes no sense. How the fuck do you do that? Liberals used to give people reasons. They used to talk about, look at Linda, look at the LBJ, look at FDR, fuck, even look at Carter. They're like a narrative
in that room, and to have the endorsements of all of them, huge. It's huge, and it paves the way.
I also think it's for this agenda. Like your political momentum, right?
Thank you.
No. And I mean that. I don't even mean it as a compliment. I mean like. No, I take that back. It's like a guy once told me, America doesn't have allies; it has interests, and I think that politicians are often that way. I can't speak about you, but like. Hochul needs re-election, and it's next year, right? I imagine she is thinking, okay, if I raise taxes like you would want, I might lose some of my constituents. But she's also probably thinking, if this guy is such a tsunami and if I rebuke him, I could also lose people. Mm-hmm. So is your strategy to have so much support in a Trump-esque version? Like, he's the only other example I can see that has found a way to completely transform his party. Is your strategy get so much support that Hochul's political future is dependent on her connectivity to you?
My strategy is to build the political.
I do like how he seems so delighted by this, by having chanced upon this like strategy when this is just very basic politics. Like, yeah, you have to endorse popular people, or in opposition to them, you'll be less popular.
Will such that Governor Hochul has a partner in delivering universal child care.
He's a good man. He's a politician.
Because look. Governor Hochul has spoken.
Bend the knee.
Governor Hochul has said she wants to deliver universal child care. What she's had in the mayor we have right now is someone more focused on getting out of jail than actually funding these kinds of programs.
Or partying, we're going to bring 11 to New York. That is a fire idea. You shouldn't even know what that is.
I didn't know what it was until you posted the clip, and I was like,
and now you're like, let him run against That's all he needs to
You can still bring it, though.
That's still on the table, bro.
Even Schultz can understand this. Don't you agree with me that the world would be a better place if the Democrats gave these guys like an easy layup on supporting them? Dude, do you have any idea how fucking lame it is to defend Kamala Harris? I sure as shit was. Like, I thought she should be voted for over Trump, for sure. I pretty clearly never liked her. There was some momentum coming out of the DNC, but like, you know, fuck, man. The Democrats make it so fucking... The face of the Democratic Party is Schumer right now. He's literally the most prominent guy, and he's also one of the most unpopular politicians in the United States of America.
Okay. you were saying.
So I think it's what are you using your political capital for? Because the same people who will say, oh, we can't afford free buses, we can't afford $700 million a year in making the slowest buses in America fast and free.
I don't agree with that. I think you can. Like that. No. Like, but here's the thing. Like,
I put that on the website?
You can put whatever you want. Like, I also think this idea that like New Yorkers are going to flee because of a 2% increase. It's like, I've been everywhere else. You're not going anywhere. Bill Ackman's not going nowhere. He's going to be in the Hamptons all fucking
There's
summer.
only one place to write those tweets.
That's it.
New York City.
Exactly.
Every character you want.
AC goes out in July in Miami. You sweating writing tweets? There's no way.
He's spending more money against me than I would even tax him. Every day it's like $1 million. It's like $1 million. I'm like, I don't even want that. You're going above and beyond.
Okay, but so I don't think anybody's moving, and
that goes hard. Also, by the way, it's a reflection of something that the Democrats never, ever, ever do. Right? Like, there are some Democrats who say we need to raise taxes. Kamala Harris talked about this, right, to some extent, you know, on the wealthiest, whatever, $400,000. If you make more than $400,000 in your household, your taxes might go up. Mamdani is the only one willing to recognize this is an oppositional relationship, and he plays with it. You know, like at the end of the day, wealthy people will benefit from living in a society that has not been gutted. But like Democrats won't even make jokes about this. Republicans make jokes about everything. Democrats won't even joke about stuff like this. You know, like for one, Ackman's the lowest fucking bar possible, like the easiest target for ridicule. But even beyond that, like Democrats never construct a narrative. More and more wealth is being hoarded by the 1%. Nah, it's time for you to pay. They're never oppositional. They're always doing this gay little fucking, now it's time for you to pay your fair share. No one can agree on what a fair share is. Why not acknowledge the dynamic, the class war that is taking place, and, you know, put your feet down in the ground and make it clear where you stand on like a moral level, you know? Democrats don't even like to do the, oh, you know, the guy who just criticized me on Fox Business for wanting to tax people too much, he's worth $3 billion, you know? They don't even do that. It's the easiest thing in the world. Hey, all of the people right now criticizing my taxation policy are billionaires, and you, statistically speaking, the person watching this, struggle to make rent each month, okay? So why don't you let me, you know, don't let them decide for you what level of taxation on them is justified. They won't do it.
Honestly feel that way. And like I'm in the tax bracket, we're going to tax more. Like, dude, if you're going to deliver all this shit for 2%, give it. I'm 100% supportive if it makes life easier for New Yorkers. This is my one identity in my entire life is a New Yorker. It's the thing I care the most about. But what I will say is that I think that there are going to be people in government that are going to try to restrict you from doing that. And I know that you're aware of that. So I'm like, how... And there are people that might disagree on economic policy. We can have like a philosophical discussion about like what economic policy works. But I don't even know if, I think that's like a waste of time. What the fuck do you do when special interest groups are going to be lobbying like crazy? They're going to say, I want to build 200,000 units. And then the second you try, they're going to be like, well, not in my neighborhood, I don't. Yeah.
I mean, you have.
How do you do that?
You have to be ready to take on these fights. You cannot be naive
taking
to
on
the
it right
fact.
now. Special interest groups are.
But I mean, I appreciate the point, because there is a reason why we haven't had progress. Right? If you look, for example, at the Department of Education, this is the agency we spend the most amount of money on in any agency in New York City.
Yep.
Of the $40 billion we spend about $10 billion on contracts and consultants.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of people who are looking forward to the renewal of their contract.
No, it's to educate you nerds at Bronx Science. Some of us dumb kids that went to regular public school, we don't need all that money.
Look,
Where'd you go to high school?
Baruch College campus.
What was your mascot?
The Blue Devils.
All right.
Yeah. Which
It's
we
actually
just chose.
a white devil. Isn't that funny? Who knew? Habibi, let's talk about
Segue.
Segue. Get us back to Hochul.
Pivot.
Get us back to Hochul.
No, but here's my point. There are people making money off the status quo. And so there will be a lot of interest in retaining that status quo.
Yeah.
Right now, the city of New York, into the world of New York City.
I thought you just didn't want to go to Israel. I thought that's what this thing is about. No, go on.
Goddamn, Mamdani's so good at this. Again, I maintain that, like, the Democratic Party would be fucking full up with guys like this if they weren't so fucking insane internally and didn't, like, axe out anyone even remotely progressive who wasn't willing to toe the line, you know?
Moments ever. It was that moment, and then the one in the debate recently where fucking Cuomo couldn't say whether he was going to go to the Mets game or the Knicks game.
He said he wanted to go to both,
bro. And like, you'll have moments
just
where
pick one.
Exactly.
Just pick it.
Exactly. You'll have moments where like you cut through like political fraudulence, and he's just like, I would do half and half, and you go, this guy.
When they asked the question, in my mind, I was like, "There's no wrong answer here," and then he created the wrong answer, and it's like, just pick an answer.
It is a 5-year-old answer.
How are you going to do both?
It's the next game, though. It's
Like, come on.
Because you're so poised, you're so articulate, and he said it, and you're just like, this fucking. Like I saw you throw your hands up.
You created that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, it's. But look, I grew up in the city, and I've often seen the city that our politics cares about, and then the rest of the city, and there's that divide. And when I actually.
Sorry, I'm falling into a trap here of just, like, watching Mamdani be good. The current internal state of the party is basically downstream of Clinton getting the DNC to drop rules banning DNC officials from being involved in PACs. Yeah, I mean, between that and Citizens United, it feels like it was all kind of fated, you know? Like there was basically no other outcome we could have gotten besides this. So, you know, the main reason I'm not talking so much is because, like I said at the beginning of stream, I'm sick. Hence why I'm chewing on a cough drop right now. Mamdani can't be our only ambassador to these fucking guys, okay? I think Plattner is going to be, assuming he continues onward, you know? But even Plattner has a little bit too much of, like, the self-serious warrior tone. There are dude bros in the party. Even David Hogg, who was, of course, ousted for the crime of wanting, you know, the crime of wanting the party to be better. David Hogg is decent enough, you know, on a podcast. You know, he's fine at talking. I don't know, man. Too earnest? Maybe a little bit too earnest. My throat is sore. Here's another guy like this. He even drives a truck, but is very leftist. What the fuck are you talking about? He even drives a truck? Okay. Okay. I can feel my throat's getting sore enough from the talking that if I keep doing it, like, too much, I'm gonna risk fucking up my voice a little bit, and I have to stream tomorrow. So let me, and I have to read donos too. Shit, that's a lot of talking. Pentagon to use $130 million donation from anonymous Trump friend to pay military members. I guess that's one way of forestalling the consequences of the indefinite shutdown. Can this even be done? What is the source here? Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said in a statement to CNN. The move marks a striking departure from government procedure for funding the military. Really? There's no mechanism to do this? Yeah, I don't even know if it can happen. Military now funded by McDonald's? Yep. Yes, sir. We'll see if it actually ends up happening. Keep in mind that a bunch of the evil Hitlerite shit that they have that they've talked about doing, you know, they mention it and then nothing ever actually happens because there's no mechanism for them to do it. There's not even like a means by which they could do it. It is certainly true though. There is a lot of wacky stuff happening with regard to the military right now.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10, active duty.
Oh yeah, what the fuck is this shit? Yeah, so a lot more information's been coming out in the past couple of days, but the Republicans have been explicit that there are no more elections. Like that's not even an exaggeration. The degree to which the rhetoric has ramped up on we are just going to have the military deployed everywhere and you won't be able to vote, or if you are able to vote, you know, it won't really make a difference. It's really been ramping up. It's really been ramping up. Yeah. Yeah, that Bannon video is disgusting. Yeah.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one,
it doesn't matter that he's old. Like Bannon said, he's an instrument. Yeah, of course. Like, and I've said this for years. If Trump died, they would just do everything they could to make the next guy enact Trump's will. You know? Like, even if Trump died, like, the question is whether or not they could hold together the charismatic front, you know? But whether or not they could or couldn't, they would still attempt to continue on his legacy. Everything would be done in the name of Trump, you know? He's almost better as a symbol for them. Yeah, at least then he would stop doing Epstein blunders. No, they're really ramping up on this. It's from the New York Times. Trump empowers election deniers still fixated on 2020 grievances. Election officials from nearly all 50 states gathered on a call last month with the Homeland Security Department's point person on election integrity eager to hear how the woman filling a newly created Trump administration position might help safeguard the vote ahead of next year's midterms, but many of them left alarmed. Rather than offering assurances that the federal government's election protection programs would continue uninterrupted, the new official, Heather Honey, Jesus Christ, instead used portions of the meeting to echo rhetoric that has infused the right-wing election activist movement that emerged since Trump falsely claimed that his 2020 defeat was the result of widespread fraud, according to 5 people with knowledge of the call. What is that name? It is a stripper name. Yeah. Miss Honey, a leader in that movement until her appointment in August as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Elections Integrity, complained her department's cybersecurity experts tasked with combating misinfo about elections had, quote, strayed from their mission. Look, I don't have the voice right now. Like, I can feel my voice fraying a little bit to read this out to you in its entirety. So this is a summary, and we're going to talk more about it in the future, okay? But they have said explicitly, unambiguously, that they intend to deploy the National Guard to every state, and that it is going to be done for election integrity purposes. You can't, there's no getting around this. They're doing the thing that we said they were going to do. They're doing it. You know, the curse of foresight and all that. It's a big one. It's a real big one. They created an administrative position specifically to facilitate this. On a call with right-wing activists in March, before her appointment to the Homeland Security Department, Ms. Honey suggested that the new administration could declare a, quote, national emergency and justify dictating new rules to state and local governments. She said this could be based on an actual investigation of the 2020 election if it showed there had been a manipulation of the vote. And therefore, we have some additional powers that don't exist right now, she said in March, according to a recording reviewed by the New York Times from someone who joined the call. And therefore, we can take these other steps without Congress, and we can mandate that states do things and so on. This was before she was put in charge of election integrity by the administration. You know, whatever you want to take from that. This was before then. Yeah, I don't want to read this all out loud. So this was their job interview? This was her job interview? I mean, essentially, yes, right? They heard what they wanted to. What can you even say, man? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's really just a matter of whether or not they'll actually be able to pull it off. The Trump administration is proceeding with ruthless efficiency with regard to the whole structural dismantling of democracy thing, and failing miserably in the whole creating a consensus for it. Like, we talk about the whole Reichstag fire thing, but Charlie Kirk's assassination didn't move the needle. Right now, it seems like, if anything, it's just a slow, meandering downfall in terms of popularity. Dictators do need public consensus. They don't need to do that if they dismantle democracy. Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, they need it more than a democratic official would. A democratically elected official with no supporters and no popularity can stay in office, you know? An autocrat with no supporters and no popularity will be sent upstate and replaced. Dictators need public support. Yeah, public sentiment for the Republicans is not doing particularly well right now. They're just not building that support. I don't know. %41 is still insane. Yeah, well. Hitler started at 37%, but then rose to 90. Yeah, but Hitler also had a project for transforming the country of Germany, you know, a cohesive project. Trump is just a, like, oligarch looter, you know? He just wants his shiny ballrooms and for people to pledge fealty to him. There's no, like, culturally transformative effort. And for what it's worth, by the way, the Republicans have completely failed thus far to take hold of the American cultural apparatus. Hollywood is not any more pro-Trump than it was 4 or 5 years ago. The closest thing they've been able to do in that vein is corrupt journalistic organizations, but nobody reads the press. I don't know. That being said, the effort, or at the very least the attempt to pay military wages with private money alongside an active, ongoing effort to coordinate National Guard deployment in all 50 states. Something they would only plan for, by the way, if they wanted to interfere with the election. Why would you say you want to deploy them to all 50 states if the whole reason you're saying you're deploying the National Guard is to stop crime in Democrat cities, you know? Hope my throat feels better tomorrow. Oh, and I guess while we're tossing clips in there and we're discussing military impropriety, this is a fun one.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead. Okay.
Very good. Well spoken, Mr. President. Sorry I'm so quiet, by the way. I'm just, you know how it is when you have a sore throat and you feel like the kind of sine wave of your throat sensitivity, where sometimes you can get away with talking for a bit and it won't hurt, and then sometimes you're like, if I talk right now, it's gonna be, you know, like be running a cheese grater over my vocal cords. Here, one last thing I want to say. Since it seems like this government shutdown is going to be indefinite, SNAP benefits. Goodbye. So that'll be fun. My only hope is that, you know, for every one Democrat who suffers because of this, 2 Republicans will suffer. That's my my limit, you know? "25 states told Politico they're issuing notices informing participants of the SNAP program," well, SNAP, the nation's largest anti-hunger initiative, "that they won't receive checks next month. States include California, Arkansas, Hawaii, Indiana, Mississippi, and New Jersey. Well, I mean, all of the states are getting the SNAP benefits cut. It's a national program. Am I wrong on that? Yeah. It's not like Medicaid where it's managed individually by the states. Some supplement the cost, if I recall correctly. Trump will be the first president in U.S. history to cut off SNAP benefits to the American people. Administration would have to find more than $8 billion to keep SNAP afloat if the shutdown continues. Not going to happen. Which 25 states? Again, those are just the ones issuing notices. Basically, every state, unless they have some kind of supplemental program, they can keep the lights on for a little while. All these people are going to find they can no longer afford groceries. Argentina's okay. That's what matters. That's true. All right. I'll not strain my my throat any further than I need to. We'll talk about Counter-Strike tomorrow, okay? Because that's incredibly funny. Now hold your horses, okay? Normally I would just jump to ending stream and I wouldn't read donos because my throat hurts, but I did receive a couple of preposterously generous donations. And you know, I say I treat all donations equally, but you know, in the interest of bias, I'll read just a couple, and the rest of them I'll read tomorrow. Okay, that way I'll get to quell like the tummy hurt feeling in my gut. You know, it's not just about privileging the people with the money to give larger donations. It's more just like my fear internally, like what if it's a this is the last thing I'll ever donate, goodbye kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like, here's the last of my funds. I'm finally doing it. And then I don't even read it. You know, I get worried. I get worried. I don't know what's going on with you people. I have to check. Professor Frumples, thank you for the incredibly kind $100 dono. Today's my 22nd birthday. I'm having a blast getting new books, Legos, and games. Fuck yeah. Also, I'm going to be watching the Chainsaw Man movie later tonight. Thanks, bye. Hell yeah. Yeah, I got to go watch that with my beautiful partner, you know. I watched season 1 with them, and they were very upset that there was only one season. But thankfully, we did watch it, you know, now as opposed to 2 years ago. Thank you very, very much. And for the super chats, Joan Bolt, you gave me one $100 and one $300 dono, which is fucking insane. Thank you so goddamn much. I'm happy you have good parents. It does my heart good to hear those still exist. Personally, the bar's in hell with my parents, especially after coming out. Seriously, good on your parents. I love that they love you and your beautiful partner. This one's for Yusuf and their challenge to me. Mostly celebrating my grandmother visiting and being surprisingly supportive. Ain't it always like that with the grandparents? You know, it's because they're closer to meeting their maker. You know, they don't want to go to hell. I'm sorry that your parents have been a little bitch to you. I just don't have much insight to offer on it. I've always been like a pretty big advocate for the right, not the obligation, but the right to distance yourself from shithead family members, you know, even because a lot of people think, oh, I owe them, they raised me, but, well, then they could have just not sucked, you know? Because a lot of parents do suck. Not mine, but a lot of parents do suck. And I think a lot of people kind of, you know, exacerbate the internal injury by, you know, they do all these deliberations and all this worrying and these concerns about, well, you know, don't I owe them something? Their life is going to be wretched without the, you know, companionship of their children. And again, you know, at the end of the day, it's just, well, they could have not sucked. Kind of a skill issue on their part, in my opinion. Yeah, no excuses for being wretched, you know? I'm glad your grandma's cool, though. All right, folks. Tomorrow, I have every intention of having a less sore throat, so I'm going to work towards that end. In the meantime, everyone take care and have a wonderful day and drink plenty of water, because I'm going to do that. Drink plenty of water, and I'll see you soon. Okay? Peace.